and Quebec. Game 3 from the Forum on Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC.
We always go the distance, right up to the wall. Good friends you can count on, all for one and one for all. Nothing short of the best will ever stand the test. There's nothing halfway about it, that's always been our call. X says it all. X says it all. X says it all.
Tired of waking up to the same old things? The solution is right at your doorstep. Just check Broe Martineau's 33rd anniversary circular. You'll find yourself a washer and dryer set, stove and refrigerator priced at only $1,599. And this freezer with 5 cubic feet capacity for only $199. Rest assured, you won't have to spend all your earnings. You pay no down payment, no interest before January 1994. So redecorate your home. Shop now at Broe Martineau, where quality always beats low prices.
Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. Brought to you by Molson Exports. X says it all. By Board of Canada, where quality is job one. It's working. By Imperial Oil and Esso Associates, proud to be one of the leading sponsors of youth hockey in Canada. And by Pepsi. Gotta have it.
Andre Ouellet cranking up the excitement level even higher here. Also, the anxiety level is high at the Forum as the Canadiens try to change the momentum of the Battle of Quebec in game number 3. But prior to the commencement of this game, a special presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, in order to make a presentation of the 1992-93 Molson Cup, this past season's Player of the Year, let's greet Mr. André Blanche-Montagne, President of Molson O'Keeffe Brewery. Mesdames et messieurs, le gagnant de la Coupe Molson pour la saison 92-93, the Molson Cup winner, Kurt Muller.
So this is a presentation that goes on in all the Canadian rinks at the end of the season. This is based, of course, on the selection of the 3 stars at the end of games, both home and away. Kurt Muller was, over the whole season, arguably the best Canadian player. This is no surprise. He had 94 points in the standings, the point standings. That equaled his career high previously with the New Jersey Devils. So, well deserved. All right, we've got some cameras out of the Montreal Forum tonight in the Montreal suburb of Laval. Some of the boys are gathering, and ladies too, no doubt, taking a look at the hockey game. Now, you have to figure that there are mainly Canadian fans here. There's also one in the area of Quebec City where, of course, they are mainly Nordiques fans. So we're going to see how they react. Now, Patrick Roy did something I haven't seen him do very often this year. When the visiting team is skating after the Canadians are through, he came out, sat with our Radio Canada friends, Gilles Tremblay, Claude Tinvel, and watched the Nordiques work out. Now, he didn't see all of the Nordiques practice. They had, I guess, an optional Chris, and not everybody skated. There was no sign of Joe Sakic or Matt Sundin, but maybe Patrick wanted to get an extra look there. Whatever.
Well, he has been much talked about in the last 48 hours, but like Gilbert Dion, who was criticized heavily after Game 1, Patrick is certainly not hid from the media.
No, not at all. And Jacques Demers was right. He said the easiest thing for those of us in the media to do in the wake of the 2 games in Quebec was to blame the goaltender. Isn't that always the easiest thing to do, no matter what city you're talking about? But the fact remains, as we referred to off the top, that Demers has seen his team score only 3 times in 2 games, and only 2 players scored, with Brian Bellows getting 2.
There are the officials. Bill McCurry, Sweet Knox, Brad Lazarowicz are on the lines. And the starting goaltender for the Quebec Nordiques, once again, of course, Ron Hextall, the difference in Game 2. And he leads all playoff goaltenders so far this year, a 1.32 goals against average. He was right in the thick of that pre-game dispute. Patrick Roy stayed out of the way. And he's trying to end a 7-game winless streak tonight. Carbonneau starts at center with Bellows and Savard. And Game 3 of the Adams final is underway. Brisebois head to Carbonneau. It rolls in on Hextall, and he clears it. Scott Young checked by Savard, who shot ricocheted to the corner. Curtis Lecition ahead to Lapointe. Claude Lapointe with Mike Ricci and Scott Young. Clearly the best line for the Nordiques in Games 1 and 2. Young with 3 goals so far. 7 against the Canadiens this season. Ryan Bellows has 2 of the 3 goals for the Canadiens in this series. Denny Savard at center ice, flips it high in the air, and the Canadiens make a change. On comes LeBlanc with Domfus and Keane. Dick, the Canadiens not using the lines we saw in practice this morning offside the call at the line.
Well, maybe that's part of the mind games, but this line was together for a good part of the season as far as Montreal is concerned. Just one injury on the Canadian side. It is a major one, of course. Matthew Schneider out for the rest of this hockey year with his second-degree shoulder separation, and the others are all victims of the numbers game. You have, from 2 nights ago, Todd Ewan and Paul DiPietro out of the lineup, and in the lineup tonight for Montreal, Gary Leeman and Jesse Belanger. And I think the inference there is that the Mers is looking for some more offense, and especially in the case of Gary Leeman, because that's what he is supposed to do best.
Well, Denny Savard is back on the ice now with Kirk Muller and Brian Bellows. So Jacques Demers going to his veterans early in this game as Patrick Roy kicks that aside. J.J. Daigneault to Bellows. He puts it in center ice, and Rasinski sends Sundin back in the zone. Rebound knocked away, kept in by Gusarov. Right wing feed, Sundin. Shot, scores! Matt Sundin with a blast.
Minute 17 into the hockey game. And a big goal for Quebec. You almost had the feeling that Montreal had to score the first goal in this game. But they didn't, and Matt Sundin, who wasn't all that much in evidence in the 2 games in Quebec, puts one in underneath the crossbar and in behind Patrick Roy. And is this a good goal or not? It's probably a screen goal. It looked like Owen Nolan in front of the net being pushed out of the way by Lyle Odeline. And does the goaltender see it in a situation like that? I don't think so. And it's an early 1-0 lead for Quebec.
47 goals during the regular season, his first in Stanley Cup play. Al LeBeau has an open man. Keane, Brisebois shot deflecting off Steve Finn high into the stands.
A lot of us expected the Canadiens to really start storming as far as the Nordiques were concerned. Rush the net, go for the front of the net, all of that sort of thing, but they haven't been able to do it, and Sundin gets the first one. Another of the #1 overall draft choices in the Quebec lineup in '89. That's where he was picked. And has he ever paid off? He played some excellent hockey against Montreal. Especially, I think his best games against the Canadiens this past regular season have been in this building.
Brisebois from the point. Gusarov, the lone assist on the goal for Quebec at 1:17. Keane shot. That hit Hextall and goes to the side. And it flips up over the glass, out of play.
Kind of typical there. Patrice Brisebois tried 3 times to put the puck on the net, and the puck didn't get there. And any of the times, while we have Tatarinov still out with a back injury, the defenseman from Russia, all of the others that you see out, the numbers game again. There's one change for Quebec. Scott Pearson is not playing tonight. In his place, Andrei Kovalenko, who had back problems, but he has been pronounced fit for duty. He's a speedster, adding yet a little more speed to the already quick Nordiques lineup.
Joey Sakic and LeBeau on the face-off. Domfus, Keane reaching for it. Adam Foote came across to clear it away. Here's a turnover, a near turnover. Lecition does get it out, though, to center ice. Keane, LeBeau, Domfus. And it's Keane to LeBeau. Back on right wing, Mike Keane the shot. Hextall, glove stop. And he'll hang on as Domfus skates to the net.
Well, to get back to that situation, the pregame warm-up, Hextall and Mario Roberts were the main guys in what were little tips and so on, but Roberts isn't in uniform. Mason Domfus, the word has been used more than once in the media since the beginning of this series. He has disappeared, or he has been invisible, and he certainly hasn't been a factor at all, and that's got to be a disappointment for Jacques Demers, because Domfus led the team in points this past season. Here's that shot by Mike Keane. No problem for Hextall, who hangs on to it as it bounces up and he makes the glove grab. So here's Belanger on for his first crack at playoff competition.
Belanger with Dion and Brunet for the Canadiens. And Andrei Kovalenko is out for Quebec on right wing on a line with Sundin and Chris Simon. Kovalenko 51. Into Sundin, the goal scorer. Chris Simon, the rookie, fires it in. Kovalenko, also a rookie. Dion ahead to Belanger, hopped over his stick. Simon back in for Quebec. To Sundin. Dion in the corner, wraps it around the boards, kept in by Duchesne. Wrist shot, high over the net. Kovalenko after it, just 5'9", but a tough man to move off the puck. Belanger knocks him off stride. Sundin there to pick up the loose puck. Kovalenko, Simon in front. Here's Kovalenko. Twisting with it, takes the shot right on through a maze of players. Cleared around the boards past Sundin out to center ice.
Well, this looked like the first part of Game 2 the other night. Canadiens in their own zone, having all kinds of trouble. Nordiques in control. Here they come again.
It's Lapointe now. Takes a look. Scott Young couldn't get a shot away. Gusarov checked by Brunet. Dion cruising at center. Got tied up in the skates of Lazarowicz, and it is called offside. We played 3:14, and Matt Sundin has put Quebec on top.
My staff is very good.
No getting around it. Service is definitely a hands-on business. That is my job, to provide that personal touch.
I think our customers appreciate the good service we give them.
At Esso, we're dedicated to getting you on your way with fast, friendly service.
Esso has standards, and I have standards.
And the Esso card with valuable Esso rewards gives our customers great service.
The best way to advertise Mercury Sable is the direct approach. Mention some of the over 24 standard features. Show the price. Mention a few of the safety features. Show the price. Mention that both models offer exceptional value. Show the cars.
Closed captioning of tonight's game is sponsored by Household, providing Canadians with a family of financial services.
Gary Lehman on the ice for the Canadiens. Lehman pulled down by Ricci. Crowd reacts, but the play continues as they jam in the corner. Lehman with Leclerc and Carbonneau for the Canadiens. And out comes the veteran Steve Finn down the far wing. Finn pulled down near the line, and an offside is called. With the Hockey Night in Canada Stanley Cup update, here's Scott Russell.
Chris, we head to the Patrick Division where the Devils are down 2-0 in the series to the Pittsburgh Penguins, but New Jersey strikes first at the Meadowlands. It is Bill Guerin scoring his first playoff goal of the series, beating Tom Barrasso. And that makes it 1-0 for the Devils over the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first.
Here's Mike Ricci. Fiery center iceman for the Nordiques.
Yeah, but pretty quiet in the first two games in Quebec. However, in the middle of things in the pregame warm-up hassle, he never stopped yapping.
Don Jackson told me before this playoff series, that's a good sign. When Ricci is doing a lot of talking on the ice, he's on top of his game. Carbonneau centers in front, broken up by Finn. And here comes the first penalty. A slash on Finn, and it's the Canadiens' captain, Dick. As you said.
A penalty perhaps brought about by some early game frustration in the other team zone. Quebec on the rush, up the ice, and Carbonneau puts the slash on the Quebec defenseman. So the Canadiens off to a very rocky start here as they try to make a series of this after the 2 losses in Quebec City. And they lose their team captain and one of their top penalty killers. Here we see it here. Carbonneau's pass from the corner intended for Lehman is picked off, and as Finn carried the puck up ice, Carbonneau gave him the slash from in behind. They call it high sticking.
Nordiques with 2 power play goals in this series in 6 tries. These are the 2 least penalized teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. Kamensky's on the ice, so is Sakic and Nolan, Lasician, and Duchesne and Keane. The penalty killer for the Canadiens feeds to Muller. Eric Desjardins coming in. Muller centers it off Lasician's skate. Desjardins at the point. Muller buzzing too, and now the Nordiques start back. Ahead to Owen Nolan. Nolan in, fires right on, and the rebound cleared by Haller. Back it comes to Lasician. Around the boards it goes. Keane giving chase, gets to it, and the Canadiens push it outside the line. Minute 15 to go in the Carbonneau minor. Desjardins off the boards, and Lasician can't keep it in. Here's Keane at center ice. Catching up on the play, Muller. Shooting, and it's kicked out by Hextall. Keane, far side. Muller hauled down by Duchesne, and that will do it for the Nordique power play.
Penalty coming with 56 seconds remaining in the Carbonneau penalty. And I don't think Pierre Pagé is too thrilled with that call by Bill McCreary. They're calling it interference. Both players going for the puck in the corner of the net, in the rink rather, after it gets past the net, and there's, well, maybe it was a penalty. And Muller is hauled down. So 4 skaters aside for almost a minute, and then the Canadiens, whose power play, such as their chances have been, and it's not very often they've had one, has been just terrible so far in this series.
You know, Dick, you talked to the Canadiens prior to the game and this morning, and they all almost guaranteed they'd just come out flying tonight out of the box. They had to get the jump on the Nordiques, and that jumping goal seemed to set them on their heels momentarily. But
yeah, but just prior to it, they were fumbling around in their own zone too, so they didn't come out that way, Chris. But you're right, that's what they talked about.
LeBeau, Domfus, Haller, Desjardins, 4-on-4. Kovalenko, Sundin for Quebec. Desjardins whipped the shot wide. Adam Foote signaling his teammates, and now sends away Sundin, left wing. Kovalenko deep in Canadiens territory. Watched by Desjardins. They do some fencing in the corner. Back it comes to Foote. And now Haller for the Canadiens. 25 seconds left in Guy Carbonneau's penalty. Then the Canadiens go on the power play. Here's Domfus at the line. Snaps the shot. Hextall handles that. Kovalenko starts back. Domfus pounding him. Kovalenko stays with it. And now Domfus will take over. And more penalties about to come about, and we'll sort that out for you and go downstairs to Scott Russell.
The Buffalo Sabres have not won a playoff series since 1983. They may be on their way against the Boston Bruins, up 2-0 in the series. Pat Lafond to Alex Mogilny, his third of the series, and the Sabres go up 1-0. And then it's Yuri Kimilev in alone on John Blue of the Boston Bruins. And Kimilev wins this battle 2-0 for the Buffalo Sabres in the first period over the Bruins at the All.
You know, Dick, in the regular season, the Sabres won the first 3. Boston won the next 4, but I don't think the Bruins want to try that in the postseason.
All of whatever's been going on around the NHL, that would be, maybe just if I see those teams more during the season, that's the biggest surprise.
Desjardins is in the penalty box along with Kovalenko for high sticking.
2 minutes each for ice kicking at 6 minutes, 2 seconds.
That's Sundin rubbing Kevin Haller into the glass, and then down they go, one and then the other. Nothing happened there.
2 seconds, and then Carbonneau will be on the ice, and the Canadiens will have a power play. Brisebois, Gary Lehman, Haller, Bellows, and Muller as the Canadiens go to the attack. An abbreviated man advantage. Here's Bellows intercepting a pass. 48 seconds left in this short man advantage for the Canadiens. Brisebois, Haller takes the shot. It deflected off a Canadian stick high. And the faceoff will come outside the line.
Well, that's a little bit better if you're a Canadiens fan looking at that particular play on the power play, because they threw the puck around, which they weren't doing too well in the games in Quebec. Brian Bellows, I think, has been given the nod as the first two games in the series, the best performer for Montreal. 2 goals, puck hopped over his stick in overtime in front of a wide open net, 2 goal posts. He's played very well, and he always was a good playoff performer with Minnesota. Speaking of Minnesota, we did not mention the other night that Bobby Smith announced his retirement on Tuesday. The last time the Montreal Canadiens won the Stanley Cup was 1986, and Bobby Smith scored the cup-winning goal against the Flames in Calgary. A fine 15-year career.
Brisebois chased back into his own zone, hands it off to Haller. 25 seconds left in the penalty. Haller to the line. Tried to feed left wing, foot intercepted, but Bellows steals. Curtis Lasician around the boards, funny hop. It'll come to Ricci, and he'll send it down. Brisebois will have to make things happen quickly here as Muller heads into the zone. Penalty about to expire. Muller's centering pass broken up by Foot, and the Nordiques back at full strength as Duchesne joins the play. Valerie Kamensky in. There's the shot, and that deflects off the stick of Brisebois high into the stands. It's 1-0 Nordiques.
Finally, a game for the more civilized. It's Pepsi's Power Play Hockey Contest. Simply look under these smartly designed caps of Pepsi and 7-Up beverages and acquire letters to spell shoot, save, or score. You could win one of 10 smashing 2-door Ford Explorer Sports, a big screen television, or one of millions of instant win prizes. Pepsi's Power Play Hockey Contest, a game for the refined intellect.
Goodyear's having a sale with good reason. They've got all these tires, they're radial, they're all season. Who are you? Just a guy. Hey!
Save 40% on selected all-season radials. The Goodyear tires.
This is the next wave. The changing face of Molson Dry. Bold new look. Same great taste. Molson Dry. No aftertaste, no equal.
We're back at the Montreal Forum with a Stanley Cup update from the Meadowlands. Number 15 for the Penguins is Sean McEachern. And Sean McEachern plays give and go, gets the puck, and scores his 3rd goal of the playoffs, beating Craig Billington. It's now 1-1, the Penguins and Devils.
And for the face-off, puck rolls in on Patrick Roy. He'll hold it for another face-off.
Remember, it has Getz. You remember McEachern coming up last year out of the U.S. Olympic team and playing so well for Pittsburgh, coming out of nowhere, as the cliche goes, in the playoffs, and obviously a key performer this year again at this time of year.
We mentioned the Nordiques' victories here at the Forum this year in the regular season: 5-1, 5-2, and 6-2.
No contest, any of those.
Then again, the Canadiens won 3 of 4 at the Colisees. Lyle line. Off the boards. Dion kicks it ahead. Pass broken up by Finn. Kamensky's pass is intercepted by Brunet, and he's met at the line. Good check there by Finn. The Laval native sends it ahead. Now center ice. Mike Huff comes up with it. Right wing feed for Sakic. He couldn't handle the pass, and Daigneault takes over. Up to Brunet, one of the Canadiens' best in Game 2. 22 over to Daigneault. Daigneault clears it in off the ankle of Wolanin. Gusarov quickly to get it. Up to Sundin. He dumps it out to center. Rob Ramage clears it back in. 11:45 to go, first period. Matt Sundin, the lone goal scorer for the Nordiques. And Sundin has it at the line. Trying to flip it through, broken up by Carbonneau. Wolanin at center. Rink wide. Sundin got a stick on it, got a hit from LeClaire. And Ramage takes over. John LeClaire. Another guy the Canadiens want more production out of. Lehman dumped inside the line. And another penalty coming up against Quebec. This one going to Craig Wolanin.
Gary Lehman in his first appearance in the playoffs as a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Moving in over the line, not much doubt about it. Wolanin skated directly to the penalty box after the whistle went. He knew that he was gone for two. And there he is, the former New Jersey Devil. Now take a look at it here. Go to the left of the screen and right at the blue line, or just inside, Wolanin chops down Lehman. So the Canadiens go on the power play. They have 6 shots on goal in this game, which means that, Chris, in their last 60 shots in this series, the Canadiens have scored just once on Ron Hextall. No wonder he's got the best goals against average amongst the playoff goaltenders. Not to take anything away from Curtis Joseph last night. 47 shots in a shutout win. New heroes all the time in the playoffs. There's one for you right now.
Scott Russell will have highlights of all of last night's games in our first intermission. Well, it's a common theme at playoff time. The goaltenders, Curtis Joseph, Grant Fuhr. Rick Tabaracci was apparently brilliant in a losing cause the other night with over 50 saves. Canadiens get a break here. Desjardins with the shot. That one wide. Bellows rebound off the backboard. Brisebois shooting. Hextall kicks it out. Ricci chance to clear. Kept in by Brisebois. Ricci second try, and he'll get it down the ice. Tom Goose to Brisebois. Now Lapointe and Kaminsky out to kill the next segment of the power play. And Lapointe steals. Here's Claude Lapointe. Watched by Desjardins, but killing time. And now flips it back into his own zone. Position. The Nordiques play keep away, and now they send it down the ice.
Sometimes hockey players will tell you they'd rather have a power play on the road than at home ice. You can hear some booing already directed toward the Canadiens for their ineffectiveness here.
40 seconds to go, and the man advantage. Lehman inside the line. Cross ice. There's a shot. Dion blasted it wide. Pollard. Lehman. LeBeau. Dion's in front. Unattended. Ramage on this side. Off the backboards. Dion now behind the goal. Watched by Foot. Now LeBeau. 12 seconds to go in the power play. Pollard watched by Sundin. LeBeau in low. Lehman turning, but the shot is blocked by Alexei Gusarov.
Certainly no sign of the Canadiens rushing the net, giving Hextall problems, trying to get him off his game. The only player who's done it, in fact, he knocked Hextall down once, is Stéphane LeBeau, and you don't expect your smallest forward to have the job in that particular case. But out there with the players he had on, Dion, Lehman, and LeBeau, there isn't anybody there who you can think of in that particular role for Montreal. Although they did gain the zone, still nothing really concrete in the way of a decent, troublesome shot on Hextall.
And just 5 seconds left in the minor penalty to Wolanin. Belanger on the ice now, facing off against Claude Lapointe, old Quebec major junior rivals. And Brunet just took a high stick. Down he goes. Benoit Brunet is hurt, but play continues. There's a shot on Hextall. He'll hold on, and the crowd reacting. Now Brisebois on the other side, slow to get up.
Brunet taking a long time to get to the Canadiens bench. He went down inside the blue line. He's had an injury-plagued career, a broken ankle last season, early in December, ended his year. This year, he missed a month and a half or so. Check the very top of your screen, and there, it's a Nordique stick. Quebec player, he didn't pick up the number, turned away from Brunet.
That's Steve Duchesne.
He wasn't cut. Yeah, you're right. He wasn't cut, but he was clipped. And he's on the bench right now. 1-0 Quebec, 9:11 remaining, and Matt Sundin gets his first playoff goal. And I mean his first, not just this year. It won't be his last, Chris.
Absolutely. Not sure if it was good news for the Canadiens or bad news that they came to the Forum and Sundin, Nolan hadn't scored. Some of the big guns on this Nordiques team had yet to hit the score sheet, yet they were up 2-0. Kamensky still looking for his first Stanley Cup playoff goal. 1-0 Nordiques on an early goal by Sundin. Odeline back in his zone, gives off to Belanger. Leclerc challenged by foot, and now Belanger gets it out to center ice. Canadiens will make a change. 8:22 to go. First period. Nolan working in, can't get the shot away. Now Sakic. Odeline watching him. Sakic goes down. Lapointe tries to dig it free. Odeline, the cross-check on Sakic. And Savard on the far wing. Gets it ahead to Muller. Kirk Muller jumping up his own line. The pass right in front, Bellows. Oh, a big stop by Hextall. Ron Hextall turning him aside again. Greg Wolanin turning for the Nordiques, chased back by Bellows. Usarov off the boards. Wolanin ahead on right wing to Young. Off the boards to Ricci. Left wing pass Lapointe. That shot goes wide. Desjardins ahead to Bellows. Can't find it in his skates. There's Lapointe again. Jacques Demers had quite a compliment. He said Lapointe's playing like Doug Gilmour did during the regular season. And we'll have a feature on Claude Lapointe upcoming. Denny Savard, cross ice now. Dom Foose is there. Slides it through for LeBeau. Checked off his stick and out to center ice. Now here's Steve Duchesne. Duchesne going in, and the shot goes high. Behind the net, Young. Watched by Desjardins. And the Canadiens defenseman comes up with it. Left side to Dom Foose with LeBeau. They hit the line. Dom Foose shooting. Hextall made that stop. Duchesne now as they open it up. Kamensky with room, bursting through. Can't get a good shot away. And a penalty coming up against the Canadiens on a brilliant burst by Valerie Kamensky of the Nordiques.
Dimitri, the largest manufacturer of leather garments in North America.
Massive selection.
Think leather. Think Dimitri.
Dimitri, the first name in leather.
Exclusive leather fashion starting at only $79.
Quality so high and prices so low, it's crazy.
Dimitri Spring Leather Sale. Buy direct from the manufacturer at Dimitri. 6201 Park Avenue, corner Van Horn. And remember,
the solution is simple. Come to Dimitri.
Once upon a time, Europe was a divided continent, linked by a great culinary tradition. Honest-to-goodness sausages. These days, people talk about Euro Towers. The Euro Tunnel? Eurovision. And Euro dollars. But only Chez Better has real Euro food. So when you get that Euro craving, remember, it's better Chez Better.
Well, the good players and the fast players seem to draw a lot of penalties. Patrice Brisebois couldn't catch up. And on the Kamensky rush, he gets a slashing penalty.
Patrick Roy off the boards, and Carbonneau sets it down the ice. Brunet is back on for the Canadiens. He's forechecking Leschyshyn and Sakic. Sundin had trouble with the pass, and Brunet chases Leschyshyn back and steals. Sundin breaks that up, but Odeline will send the Nordiques regrouping in their own zone. 5 minutes, 55 seconds to go. First period, 1-0 Nordiques, and they are on a power play. Duchesne to the line. Clears it to the side of the net. Odeline ahead to Muller. Muller and Keane out now. Keane takes the pass. Can't get by Duchesne. And it's called on a delayed offside after Duchesne and Keane dumped each other.
Canadiens killing a penalty right now, but neither team's had to do that very often. Here's here's what's happening around the NHL in the playoffs after what happened last night, and take a look at the two least penalized teams amongst the 16, count them 16, who are in the playoffs, the Canadiens and the Nordiques. They don't get 2-minute penalties for slashing in the pregame warm-up. That was the case, those stats might have been a little higher.
Kind of strange to see Chicago at the bottom of the list, too.
Maybe they'll change their tactics considering where they are in the win-lose department. Where the Sutter brothers are in trouble, the two head coaches, Ryan and Darryl. They were both 0 for 2 on home ice.
Rich isn't too upset, though. Playing a key role for St. Louis. Kaminsky to the line. Here's a chance in front. Young and Patrick Roy, who made a mistake behind the net, recovered just in time.
I'm from the old school, I guess, Chris. I always wonder at times why goaltenders do what they do. And that was nothing but a wide-open net. Scott Young may have been just a touch too easy on it. Maybe he tried to steer it in. He should have buried it into the back of the net. But Roy coming out, his defenseman was there. Kurt Muller got over and had a roll in all of that. But here it comes, the puck hopping right over Patrick Roy's stick. And Muller to the rescue, I guess, a little more than the goaltender on that one. Good angle there. Young almost scoring again. It's been big against the Canadiens.
Brzezinski on the face-off, gets it back to Gusarov. 42 seconds left in the man advantage. Lasician. Brzezinski. In low looking for Kaminsky, broke it up, and Desjardins passed Lasician down the ice. Two Russians, a Czech, an American, and a Canadian on this power play for the Nordiques. Now Foot is out to Scott Young. And Young, with just 7 seconds left in the man advantage to Duchesne. That didn't work. Duchesne heads to the bench. And Brisebois back on the ice. Brunet dumping it in. 1-0 Nordiques on an early goal by Matt Sundin. Adam Foot ahead for Sakic. He gives chase against Daigneault and gets the puck. Joe Sakic, Wolanin's shot. Walk on a piece of that. And Daigneault clears it out of harm's way. Dom Boos ahead to Mike Keane on the backhand, well wide. Vogelin pinching in. There's the shot in the skates of Wolanin, who clears. Kovalenko gives chase. Patrick Roy out of the goal. Sakic clearing it back. Kovalenko had lost his stick in the zone. He'll have to tag up outside the line. And in fact goes to the bench. Dom Boos in center. LeBeau misses the pass. And Sundin turns for Quebec. Banned on that pass, but it bounces through to Nolan. Met by Daigneault, and LeBeau takes over. Chris Simon on the ice. His centering pass comes back to Finn, chopping at it. LeBeau hit it with a high stick. And play whistled down. 3:26 left first period. Still 1-0 Nordiques.
Take a moment to compare the 93 Ford Taurus GL sedan and wagon to the imports. The Taurus comes well equipped with over 24 standard features, including air, power windows, and available anti-lock brakes. You'll also discover not just one, but 2 airbags. The price? Thousands less than the imports. Wagon or sedan, just $19,995. No wonder Taurus is the best-selling car in North America.
Quality is job one. It's working.
You're looking sharp. You come so far. And we know how to make the most of who you are.
Only Gillette Sensor has spring-mounted twin blades that adjust to your face. A shave this close, this safe was never this easy. Sensor, and now there's Gillette shaving gel with advanced lubricants for an incredibly smooth shave.
Gillette, the best of men can get.
3:26 left of playing time here in the first period. In the first intermission, the Canadiens Wilson Cup winner for 92-93, Kurt Muller. We'll chat with Scott Russell in our studio.
28th playoff meeting between these two teams. The Nordiques have won 14, the Canadiens 13. Denny Savard spun around at the line. And Greg Wolanin Makes a return feed. Backhand pass, missed Sundin. Savard stepped into Rusinski with help from Brisebois. Now Nolan over looking for a loose puck. And a guy to hit, and he comes up with the puck. Rusinski. At the line with Sundin, long shot. The Nordiques have said they're going to try and take as many long shots at the goaltender as possible. Savard. Dumps it off. Brisebois hit by Nolan. Back comes Sundin. Big hit by Owen Nolan. Sundin drops it. Lasician. Cross ice. Nolan just missed the pass. Well, it all started with the hit, and Nolan had a chance to finish it off. Lapointe danced by one check. Nolan on Brisebois. And the pass intercepted by Muller. Up to Bellows. 2:20 to go, first period. Canadiens changing up as icing waved off. And it's Young clearing it in. Along the boards, Dion. Right in front to Ramage. Up ahead to Benoit Brunet. Lost control of it, working against Finn. Ramage following up, and he'll flip it into the Quebec zone.
Team defense was supposed to be in favor of the Canadiens going into this series. The Nordiques have done a much better job.
Belanger trying to make things happen in the Quebec zone. It comes out in front. Belanger can't get a handle on it. Haller to Ramage. There's the shot. Hextall down. Loose puck back to Ramage again. Fanned on it. Now puts it in front, and it goes to Steve Finn, who will clear down the ice. Well, a breakdown there led to some anxious moments. Dion wrapped against the boards by Huff. Carbonneau now bringing it back in, checked by Kaminski. And Odeline flips it in, but you're right, some of the teams that we expected to run and gun can play defense too, like Pittsburgh and the Detroit Red Wings. And the Nordiques have done a good job against the Canadiens. Under a minute to go, first period. Quebec 1-0. Wolanin to an open wing. Sakic couldn't get it, and it's Gusara back in his own zone. Up to Mike Huff. Cross ice it goes. Here's Kaminski against Odeline. Shot high. Kaminski after it again. Fires it right on. The Nordique brass were much happier with Kaminski's play in Game 2 after a shaky start in the opener. And Kaminski has been a handful in this first period. He has it again. Missed the check by Carbonneau, but Brisebois took it away. 15 seconds to go. Up it goes to Muller. Kirk Muller against Lasician. Centers it. Steered away by Hextall. Denny Savard. Desjardins. Check that. That was Daigneault. Now at the side of the net. Penalty coming up with 0.4 seconds to go. A penalty coming up against Quebec.
A lot of holding and hanging on in the area of the Quebec net in traffic. And nobody's going to the box. It's going to be Matt Sundin, I guess it is, who was the one who was caught. So that won't do very much right here, but when the second period begins, Canadiens will be on a power play. Here's Scott with another update.
Dick, another Patrick Division series. The Islanders and Capitals are tied at 1 game apiece after 2. Rick Tabaracci and Al Iafredi get crossed up. The beneficiary is Steve Thomas with an open net. That's his first goal of the playoffs, and it's now 1-0 for the Islanders over the Caps in the first.
What was that you were saying about goaltender staying in the net?
That's right.
Sundin holding at 19:59. And with 0.4 seconds to go, the Canadiens have a face-off in the Quebec zone.
Chris, the shots are fairly 12-11 for Quebec, but when you think of the good opportunities, the close calls, Patrick Roy has had to make many more tough saves than Ron Hextall has. The Canadiens haven't really threatened all that much again.
Nordiques looking to the bench for a clarification of how to handle this, but again, just 0.4 seconds to go. Tom Foose gestured. He's just going to shoot it at the goal and hope something happens.
Exactly. The Canadiens are going to try to set up some kind of a screen, I guess, if they can. Can it happen in less than a second? Here it comes.
Ricci for Quebec, and Bellows on the move early again. In football, he would have been offside. And it goes to the corner harmlessly, but the Canadiens will start the second period with a man advantage unless we get some late penalties here in the first.
Well, Lapointe and Brisebois were the ones who leaned against one another to bring about this gathering. But no further damage done.
Well, there's Kirk Muller. He will be Scott Russell's guest in our first intermission. Stay tuned for that. Canadiens don't get the early jump they were looking for here. The score at the end of 20 minutes, Quebec 1, Montreal no score.
Like some boys just don't know how to play nice.
So you wanna play tough?
Introducing the bold new 1993 Ford Ranger.
You say you wanna play mean? Well, if you're gonna play tough, you need the right machine.
With its brand new body, Ranger's just not playing fair.
Wanna play tough? Rest and rest. You got a new machine.
Ranger, the best-selling compact pickup in Canada.
Sure, we'd like to invest. But with what? I mean, we don't have $10,000 to put into something. Besides, we don't even know the first thing about investing. Well, what's an investment company going to do for us? You know we need to invest. Question is where?
Call investors today.
Hi, I'm Art Drysdale, and this is the Garden Claw. Using spades, forks, or cultivators can be back-breaking. The Garden Claw has a patented design that virtually eliminates bending and lifting. Turn the handles and the steel tines corkscrew down into all soils, even clay. It's perfect for mixing in peat and fertilizer, and it's ideal for working around plants and shrubs. The Garden Claw is backed by a 100% guarantee.
Look for this display. Available at Woolco and participating Beaver Lumber, Home Hardware, and Co-op stores.
Cheese, please.
Isn't it nice, oh isn't it nice to have a taste for life?
Cheese.
We always go the distance, right up to the wall. Good friends you can count on, all for one and one for all. Nothing short of the best will ever stand the test. There's nothing halfway about it, that's always been our call. X says it all. X says it all. X says it all.
Welcome back to Montreal. The Stanley Cup banners serve as a reminder at the historic Forum right now in this playoff year. 1-0 for the Quebec Nordiques in Game 3 of this Adams Division semifinal. Kirk Muller of the Montreal Canadiens combines with Brian Bellows for one of the best chances by Montreal in that first period. There's the pass. Bellows right off the crease, but a nice save again by Ron Hextall of the Quebec Nordiques. Joining me now is Kirk Muller of the Montreal Canadiens. Kirk, your thoughts first of all in the first period of Game 3.
Well, it's probably one of the quickest periods so far, and you know, we feel good still, and we know we have to get on them and get in the face a little more and get going to the net. And I think we did a better chance of that tonight, and looks like we're jumping a little more and a little more involved.
A lot of talk about the pride of the Montreal Canadiens, and kind of an interesting greeting as your team stepped on the ice for the warm-up. There were some catcalls on the part of the fans. What's a player's reaction to that?
Well, it's no doubt it's a pressurized city to play in, and when you're down 2-0, there's a lot of excitement in this series with the two teams in the same province. But we still know that we have to do a job, and we feel good inside the dressing room, and that's the main thing. And we know that we can come up with a big win tonight. It can change a lot of things around, and we're not worried about the last two games. We're just working on getting a victory tonight and taking it one period at a time.
Kirk, I want to ask you about your wrist first of all, because I know there's a bandage around that left wrist of yours. You were also at the end of the season off the ice for a game or two. Are you personally tired? Has it been a long season for you?
No, you can't think that way at all. It's I like to think of myself being healthy and ready to go. And the first two games, you know, like I said, we played a little defensive-minded and conservative, but I think we tried to change it a little bit tonight. And some of us got to produce offensively, and I think if we keep going the way we are tonight, we'll get a few by Hextall. He's playing well right now, but we're staying up, and we know it's going to be a long series, and we're definitely not quitting.
Quickly, Kirk, what about the Quebec Nordiques? They played very strong defensively.
It's true. Give them credit so far. They're an offensive-minded team and very talented, but they have played well defensively and shut us down, and that's why we feel we got to get on them a little more and try to create some mistakes on their defensive part.
Kirk Muller, good luck the rest of the way in game number 3.
Thank you.
Kirk Muller
and Bellows up front. Desjardins and Haller are the point men on the power play. Muller trying to get by Scott Young. Haller sends it in. Bellows after it against Wolanin. Drops it for Domfus. Back to Bellows. Ricci and Young are the penalty killers. Desjardins behind the net for Domfus. Kevin Haller at the point. There's the shot. It's blocked. Haller, nice job to keep it in. Domfus, and you can feel the crowd here. They want instant results. Pass in front. Hextall down. Desjardins. Bellows. Shot hits the side of the net, and Hextall hangs on there.
It's so funny here in the Forum, the crowd yelling, shoot, every time the Canadians have a power play. Best individual play on that sequence was what you mentioned about Kevin Haller when he recovered the puck after Scott Young had blocked his first shot. That one gets by him. Young's got a clear breakaway. Here's that last chance. Was it on the net? As Hextall hangs on to it up against the goalpost, and all of that wound down 53 seconds of the Sundin penalty.
They'll leave Bellows, Muller, and Domfus out. Nordiques change their penalty killers, Kamensky and Lapointe are now out. And from the faceoff, Domfus gives off Bellows. Back to Domfus, Muller in front. Bellows in front too, but they can't get it by foot. Now Bellows. Nordiques playing that box. Here's a chance in front. Muller stopped, rebound, couldn't get it away. Haller takes a return pass, and his shot goes high. Domfus. Muller shoots, scores!
It looked like he was going to go around behind the net. Hextall left the post just a bit, and Muller parked out to the side. Watch Hextall now. He leans away from the post as Domfus goes behind, and Muller wraps it home as Domfus gets rid of the puck on a quick pass before he gets behind the Quebec goal area right there. So the Canadians break the scoring ice for them, and it's a 1-1 tie. And it's been a long time between a lot of goals for Montreal. There it is right there, and an up route for Muller on the short side. Hextall leaving the post open just enough for the puck to go in.
Well, he told Scott Russell he wanted to leave the interview to say a few words to his teammates. That goal may have spoke volumes. And it's 1-1 here at the Forum. Nolan inside the line, can't break through. Lyle line, flipping it high, and here comes LeBeau. Let's see if that's the goal that gives the Canadians a spark. Daigneault, shot right on, and a juggling act by Hextall, who hangs on. Kirk Muller from Domfus and Bellows at 1:30 of this second period has the teams on even terms.
Canadians might have looked like they were spinning their wheels in the first period occasion, and oftentimes they were. But by the same token, compared to their effort in Game 2 on Tuesday night, it was much better in that department. The star of the show between Games 2 and Game 3 was Jacques Demers. Nobody else was quoted here in Montreal. J.J. Daigneault had a shot go, too, that was headed for the top shelf. Hextall jumps, stops, and hangs on.
And that brings the crowd into it a bit more at the Forum. Ramage with a shot that hit Carbonneau in the back. And it's cleared out to center. I didn't get the feeling prior to the game, Dick, that these fans were really convinced their team could come back.
Before the series started, Chris, you couldn't find hardly anyone in Montreal who thought Montreal would win the series. In Montreal, never mind Quebec City. In fact, one Quebec City newspaper headlined that. Even in Montreal, the Nordiques are favored. And they were, and maybe still are. I'm sure they still are. Well, the Canadiens on home ice in the regular season had a pretty good record, 4th in the 24-team NHL. But on the road, Quebec better than anybody, even the Penguins. That was maybe the biggest part of their big turnaround, how they played on the road. Teams can improve one year to the next. Usually the improvement is mainly on home ice. With this club, Pierre Pagé did just a super job, and they were the best road team in the league.
Carbonneau wins the draw. Rammage shot deflected by Lehman and through the pads of Hextall. Here's Lehman again. Gary Lehman trying to come out in front, was broken up by Cavallini. Leclerc, his shot doesn't get through. Lehman takes a hit. Leclerc ended up belting Carbonneau. Canadians got crossed up there. Lehman coming back made the defensive play as it looked like the Nordiques were going to break out. Now Curtis Lesician past Carbonneau and into the zone. 3 minutes gone, second period. The Canadiens have tied it on a power play goal. It's 1-1. Carbonneau. Sandwiched there by Steve Duchesne. Dion to Lehman. He'll flip it in. And the Canadiens making a change as Carbonneau and Lehman go to the bench. Chris Simon. Checked by Brunet, and it's cleared back in. Steve Bin behind the Nordique goal. Around it goes to Cavallini. Brunet intercepts that. Benoit Brunet back in, but trapped offside. Gilbert Dion. But an inspired group of Canadians to start this second period.
Hey, what are you doing? Come to the Florentino Super Sale. Check out these jackets, only $100. And look at these incredible blazers for only $75. I'll give you any one of these shorts for $20. These vests at $20. How about these jackets for only $2? Oh, come and meet Rita for more great deals.
Florentino Leather. For the best selection, best prices, and best quality. Florentino Leather, 11 Chabanel, 387-4907.
Lease a 1993 Buick Regal Custom for just $359 a month for 36 months and rediscover America.
.27 to go second period. The shots on goal in the second period so far, 5-0 in favor of Montreal. Adam Foote to Kamensky. To the goal. Kamensky waiting for it. Back in behind the net for Sakic, centering it. Desjardins will clear it ahead. Benoit Brunet breaking out with Dion. Brunet against Foote. And Foote handles it well defensively. Kamensky was put in front of his net, but Lesician ahead to Sakic. Joe Sakic to the line with Huff. Crowd thought that was offside. Sakic in front, and it hit a leg and goes to the corner. Kamensky. Brisebois cut that off. And it's Gilbert Dion to Brunet. Eric Desjardins. Brunet breaking down the wrong wing. Missed the pass. Now into Dion. And he almost split the defense. Desjardins clears it in right on Hextall, but Canadians were inside the line. And it was called offside.
Well, it's playoff time around the NHL and on Hockey Night in Canada tomorrow. Eastern viewers, Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes will see the Maple Leafs try to get on the win side. At home against Detroit. In Winnipeg, as that series shifts, Manitoba and BC viewers will see the Canucks and the Jets from the arena in Winnipeg. And in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and later on in Ontario, a 7:30 Pacific start, 10:30 in the East. on Saturday night.
Yes.
Calgary at L. Friday.
Traditional 8 o'clock start at the Forum for Game 4 on Saturday. J.J. Daniel at center ice. Exactly 5 minutes gone in the second period. Ricci for the Nordiques. With Scott Young to the line, Lapointe is trailing. Checked by Muller, and it comes back out to center. Gusarov clearing it in. Daniel up to Denny Savard. His back pass broke it up. And the fans trying to exhort the Canadiens on here in the second period. Here's Bellows picking up a loose puck, flipping it to the net. Muller there. Down he goes. As he tried to deflect it past Hextall, and it looks like Muller's going to park himself in front of Hextall in the second period. Kovalenko now into the Canadian zone. Puck in the air, Rusinski against Savard. Odeline can't clear it out, will get a second chance. The lead pass, Donfus, and LeBeau breaking out. Kevin Haller on the move. Here's Donfus, just checked at the last second. After making one nice move, but Donfus couldn't get it across. Sundin back for Quebec. Rusinski on the near side just sends it over the glass and out of play.
Now, Kirk Muller, I don't know, I don't care what Kirk says, I still think that wrist is hurting him or hampering him a touch. He hurt it on March 6th in Minnesota, but there he is in the goal crease. That's where he was when he scored the Canadiens' goal in this period on the power play. Montreal in this series hasn't really taken advantage of situations as we see a tired Muller go to the bench. But with the power play chance to start this second period, it was once when they did, and it's tied the game 1-1.
Dick Jacques Demers did not give any details, but yesterday he said Kirk Muller is hurting and he needs help from his teammates. So unless there's another injury we don't know about, the wrist is still the problem. Sakic feeding on right wing to Cavallini. Gino Cavallini overskates the puck, and Mike Keane will turn back to the Canadiens with LeBeau and Donfus at the line. Keane in the corner, foot watching him. LeBeau goes in. Cavallini as well. Comes loose, Donfus. Watched by Lasician, and he got his glove up on Lasician, and a high stick as well, and that'll be the call against the Canadiens forward.
And they're checking Lasician as he cut. Curtis Lasician, number 7 for Quebec, has played a lot of good games that I have seen when he's played Montreal, but he has never played a better one than he played in Game 2. That might have been the best game of his life. I don't know. He was absolutely outstanding. Right from the time he got the first goal of the game early. It's a 2-minute penalty, as you saw referee McCreary signal. Here's the reason for the penalty call. Watch the stick come up. There. Good call. Obvious call. Montreal catching a bit of a break that there wasn't anything more serious. Well, that's easy for us to say. I don't know how Curtis feels about it. In any event, it's a 2-minute penalty against Mason Donfus, and the Nordiques go on the power play. They haven't had a shot in this second period. The Canadiens out shooting them 6-0 and outscoring them 1-0.
Well, they're now on the power play. And they have Gusarov and Duchesne on the points. Kamensky up front with Sakic, and Owen Nolan circling in the Canadian zone. Now he comes outside the line, and they fire it in. Kamensky first to get it. Behind the goal, Sakic giving chase against Desjardins. Dion, chance to clear, can't get it out past Nolan. Flipped in the air. Desjardins tried to hit it out of midair. Now he's tied up. Nolan fires right on, and the Canadiens can't clear it out. Duchesne, Sakic, they had a chance to get it out and failed, and now the Nordiques with a chance. In front it goes. Sakic back to Gusarov. Minute 12 to go in the penalty. Nolan behind the goal. Desjardins again will get a chance to Dion, and down.
And puck in the air. Eric Desjardins might have thought the Blue Jays and the Expos were scouting this game.
Here they come back again. Kamensky. And that pass failed to click, and Keane got a chance.
See, they got the Canadiens on a line change there. Hextall very alertly playing it up quick from his own zone, quickly out of the zone, and that gave Quebec a near chance at a breakaway.
Shot right on Hextall. And that's that little extra dimension that once in a while he can provide. Scott Young quickly into the zone. Left wing Sundin off the backboards to Duchesne at the right point. Lecition. Sundin. Cross ice, Duchesne's one-timer broke his stick. And Daigneault will clear it past Duchesne at the bench down the ice. Hextall again with the lead pass to Sundin and Wolanin. 9 seconds to the penalty. There's Young, and usually a big shot off that right wing, but he didn't have much on that one. And the Canadiens clear and kill the penalty. Just the one shot on goal for Quebec now in the second period. Eric Desjardins off the boards. It's a two-line pass to Carbonneau, and we've got a penalty coming up as well with 10:54 left, second period.
This is the next wave. A creation without equal. Doublement condensé, triplement refroidi, 4 fois frigorifié, pour un goût si fin qu'il ne se laisse pas. Great taste. No ordinary label. No ordinary beer. Molson Dry. No equal.
You can go as far as your heart can see. Be on any road that you want to be. It's your day. You're on your way.
At Esso, we never lose sight of what's most important to you.
You're on your way with Esso. It's your day. You're on your way.
Quebec draws a penalty. Craig Wolanin caught elbowing Vincent Danfus. So it's the Canadiens' turn on the power play just after they had killed the penalty to Danfus.
1 for 3 with the man advantage in this game, 1 for 5 in the series. And it's LeBeau, Danfus, Bellows up front. Kevin Haller and Desjardins, who've seen a lot of ice time on the points. And an errant pass. Gusarov couldn't clear. LeBeau will bring it in. Danfus chasing it down in the corner, foot behind the net to Ricci, and the Nordiques clear it. 30 seconds gone in the penalty. Kevin Haller with the lead pass to Danfus. At the line, can't get over it. Brian Bellows now out. Here's Danfus. Hanging on, looking for an open man, feeds Haller, back to Danfus. In low to LeBeau. Bellows at the side of the net, Danfus goes behind the net. 50 seconds left in the man advantage. LeBeau. Danfus. And now Bellows. Fans impatient. Bellows. Danfus. Back in front. They bang at it through the goal crease. And Bellows just missed. Bellows directing traffic. Under a half minute to go. LeBeau in front. Here's Desjardins' shot. Saved by Hextall. LeBeau again. They've got them out of the box. Haller shooting wide. Bellows after the rebound behind the goal. 13 seconds left in the power play. Desjardins. Haller. Winding up. Shot. And save Hextall. Bellows. Penalty about to expire. Wolanin getting set to return, and now he's back on the ice. Here's Sundin, tied up at the line, gets away, feeds Nolan, and Patrick Watt just squeezed the pads in time. Nolan almost stole it, and it comes out in front, and Nolan is sent crashing into the Canadiens goaltender by Kevin Haller. 8:38 to go.
These days, a
lot of people think Chrysler is #1. But at Chrysler, we know better. That's why our #1 sales event is all about you.
Benny and June, Canada's hit comedy.
It's outrageous. I love it.
I liked it all the way around.
I came out with a big smile on my face.
Benny and June, playing to laughs at theaters everywhere.
Goodyear's having a sale with good reason. They've got all these tires, their radio, they're all season.
Who are you?
Just a guy. Hey!
Save 40% on selected all-season radials. The Goodyear tire sale ends soon.
Back in Montreal with a Stanley Cup update from the Nassau Coliseum. It's the Caps and the Islanders. The puck will come out in front to Bobby Carpenter. And Carpenter gets 2 whacks at it against Glenn Healy. Healy gives up the rebound, but Carpenter deposits it. It does go in. 2-1 for the Caps.
Nordiques on the power play. 0 for 3 with the man advantage tonight. 2 for 9 in the series. Daigneault and Carbonneau back for the Canadiens. Collision there between the Canadiens captain and Leschyshyn, and Leschyshyn will now take over. Up to Duchesne. He couldn't reach it. Odeline hits Scott Young in the back with that. Young couldn't find it, and it rolls to Patrick Roy, who will hold on. And sticks get high as Odeline takes Nolan to the boards.
Penalty came right at the end of the previous shift. Kevin Haller, after the whistle went, with a cross-check in the Canadiens' goal crease area. Not a very wise move. So the Nordiques, who haven't had much momentum in this second period, Chris, they started off killing a penalty. Montreal scored. Quebec has had just 3 shots in this period. That was the 3rd right there, and it wasn't all that tough. But now, sometimes when a team kills a penalty, they had a pretty good end to that previous shift. They'd like to build on it, and they're on the manpower advantage right now. 1:26 left in the Haller penalty. You notice the scores, and you read them out of the games played here and the games played in Quebec. They were pretty one-sided, but this is a tough one. And there's Nolan. That's why the sticks went up, Chris. Nolan just kind of brushed Patrick Roy's mask as he skated by him, and Daigneault took over, or tried to.
Well, both teams trying to get the other goaltender going a bit. It was Roberge on Hextall in the pregame skate, and now Nolan on Patrick Roy. Muller gets it outside the line. 1:20 to go in this Quebec power play. A tie game 1-1, Sundin for the Nordiques in the first period. Kirk Muller on a power play for the Canadiens in the second. And icing's the call against Quebec.
Sakic couldn't quite get to it, so the faceoff comes back down to the Nordiques zone. 7:48 left in the period. Elsewhere, a little tighter tonight, obviously, in the Penguins-Devils series. 1-1 into the second period at the Meadowlands. You've seen the Capitals take their 2-1 lead over the New York Islanders at the Nassau Coliseum. And the Buffalo Sabres got 2 early. Looked like they were on their way again, but Raymond Bourque scored for Boston on a power play, and that's 2-1 Sabres right now.
Still, when you consider the hole that both Boston and Montreal are in right now, it's interesting to note that since this playoff format in 1982, either Boston or Montreal, and in many cases both teams, have made it to the Adams Final. There have never been an Adams Final without one of those 2 teams. Quebec and Buffalo trying to change that. 54 seconds left to go in the power play as Kamensky gains the line, turns away from one, gets it to Duchesne. Cross ice, Sundin, and he banned on that shot. Ricci looking for the loose puck against 3 Canadians. Montreal up with it. Carbonneau can't clear against Sundin. Duchesne at the point. Sakic. Watched by Carbonneau, the 2 captains. Steve Duchesne gets it past Keane. Sakic, Sundin, shot well wide. Not much on that. Sundin checked his stick. And on 2 shots on a row. Now there's the drop pass Kamensky, and it comes right outside the blue line. 12 seconds left in Kevin Haller's penalty. Carbonneau intercepts. In front of the Canadiens bench, Brunet was almost sent away. But here comes Quebec. Sundin breaking in with Kamensky, and the pass was high.
Canadians back at full strength. Brunet to Haller out of the penalty box, and he missed the pass. 6.5 minutes to go, second period at the Forum in Montreal. Lapointe in front, Desjardins cleared. Cavallini went into goaltender wall, but the Canadians break out. Wolanin shovels the pass cross ice. Chris Simon off the boards and into the Montreal zone. Domfus back to get it. It's a Domfus, just flips it the length of the ice. Gusarov against Lehman. Gusarov gets there first, and icing is the call.
Pretty good skating right here. This one opening up just a bit despite the 1-1 score. Curtis Leschyshyn. Get the tape machines ready out in Saskatoon. Curtis will be Scott Russell's guest. Coming off a terrific game, as we mentioned, in Game 2. And Claude Lapointe, who's been a big surprise for the Nordiques, played some very good hockey for them this season in a quiet kind of way, is going to be the subject of a feature in the second intermission as we look at number 47 of the Nordiques, his second full season under the Laval Juniors.
Number 234 signifying the number he was drafted. 12th round selection.
He waited all day.
Boy, did that draft pay off. Up with a shot. Rebound. Cavallini knocked down in front of the net. J.J. Daigneault to Domfus, and he deflects it out to center. Gary Lehman picks up the loose puck. Here's the shot well wide. Up turns for the Nordiques and clears it in. Daigneault off the boards. Gusarov can't keep it in. LeBeau missed the puck. Lapointe cross ice to Cavallini. Huff was in ahead of the play. Offside the call. 5:27 remaining. Second period.
Dan Maloney, who used to be a head coach with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets, and this past season was an assistant with the New York Rangers, is here tonight. Talked with Dan before the game, and he mentioned Lapointe, how well he seemed to play every time the Rangers met Quebec. He said he's not the least bit surprised that in this type of hockey, playoff hockey, that he's been a key man for his team.
Dick, all the Canadians skated this morning, but just a select number of the Quebec Nordiques. But unlike Matt Sundin and Joe Sakic, the Stars, who don't have to skate the morning of a game, Claude Lapointe was out there doing his laps. Here's Lisinski after the puck. He's bodied by Belanger. Kevin Haller in, trying to get possession for Montreal. Went to Sakic, and now Dion chops it out. Dion against foot, and Dion's got it. Down he goes, but he gets it. Belanger! A rocket stopped by Hextall. Good hustle there by Gilbert Dion.
Ron Hextall was roaming. He was out at the lower edge of the face-off circle following the play. And I'll tell you, he had to make a move to get back in position. But a good play, as you mentioned, Chris, by Dion, who seemed to be taken out. He got the pass across, and you see where Hextall is. He'd been out further than that and was backing up toward the net, I believe, when the shot came in. You looked over to the net. What's he doing out there? And he just made it, extending that left arm of his. 5 minutes exactly remaining. Second period of a 1-1 tie.
Hey, man, what do you want to do?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe finish high school. And college. Wife. House. Kids. Bowl on Wednesdays. Work off the old gut. Make middle management. I hang it up and head on down to Miami. Buy some white shoes and pants that come up to my chest and complain about the government full time.
No, man. I mean, what do you want to do this afternoon?
Oh. The beach. I love it!
These days, a lot of people think Chrysler won. But at Chrysler, we know better. That's why our #1 sales event is all about you.
Play underway here at the Forum. Dion, Belanger, and Brian Bellows now up front for the Canadiens. A 1-1 tie at the Forum. Matt Sundin opened the scoring. A minute 17 into the game, but the Canadiens on a power play early in the second period, tying it. Kirk Muller, the goal scorer. Kovalenko for Quebec. At the line, couldn't barge through 3 Canadians, and back comes Muller. Kirk Muller winds up, shot, that hit the outside of the post. Dion off the boards, Muller gives chase against Wolanin. Brisebois cheating in, he's loose in front. Now he'll hit back, Canadians couldn't get it out in front, there they jam at it. Hextall with the stop. Kirk Muller came from behind the net and almost put the Canadians on top.
One thing that Nordique watchers say is that the team during the course of the season wasn't the greatest when it come to, as the saying goes, winning the battles along the boards. I thought they did a pretty good job that way the first 2 games in Quebec, but right here the Canadians prevail. A good effort by Kirk Muller and a good stop by Ron Hextall. Looking at it from our roof camera, Hextall watching. And here's Muller coming out from behind. Bit of a giveaway there by Sakic. He had the puck on his stick and lost it. And Muller picked it up and almost had the wraparound type try with the backhand from close range.
Just the second game of the year for Ron Hextall at the Forum. Stéphane Bissette played 2 of the 3 games here. Desjardins shot, Hextall down, loose puck, where is it? It's underneath either Hextall or Craig Wolanin.
Interesting you mentioned that, Chris, because that was the first time Quebec played here. Hextall played and was absolutely brilliant and was the main reason the Nordiques won. They went back and played in Quebec the very next night, and the Canadians scored 5 times on them in the first period, and they took them out. Here's a look at that one. Hextall playing the angle. He's out. Where's the puck? Oh, he's got it well under control. A little bit more so, perhaps, than it might have looked to some of the fans. The fans getting into this one.
Muller and Lapointe were scheduled on this face-off, and now Lapointe waved out. John Leclerc and Denny Savard joining Muller on this line. Didn't see much of Leclerc in the second period. Leclerc, after it in the corner, fell down. Muller keeps it in. Wolanin blocked the shot and sends it out to center ice. Brisebois to Muller. Pass across the line. Now Brisebois fires it in. Kamensky to Lapointe. Into the Montreal zone with 3:20 to go, second period. Desjardins off the boards, lead pass for Savard too far. Lasician back to touch it, and icing is the call.
In this period, the Canadians have had 12 shots, and Nordiques just 4, but you get the feeling that the next goal is going to be very large. It would break the tie. If Montreal gets it, they're on a roll. They're building some momentum. If the Nordiques get it after the kind of a period this has been, it would be a bit of a blow to Montreal. You saw Lasician, Scott's upcoming guest, 3:12 from now, and Pierre Pagé has done just a terrific job. Okay, a lot of people say he won't win Coach of the Year because the trade, and they was handed all those players from Philadelphia, this and that. I don't buy that. I think that he's just put together a great hockey club here, potentially greater hockey club.
Well, if he doesn't win Coach of the Year, maybe management person of the year.
It's interesting, you know, he had to deal with a lot of players who said they didn't want to play in Quebec. They don't say that anymore.
No, absolutely. Here's LeBeau in the corner. Keane taken out by Ricci. And Keane now has the puck in front to Don Blues, past him and past Odeline out to center ice. What a job Pierre Pagé's done in changing the attitude of this franchise in a short time. 52-point improvement in 1 year. Here's a chance for Young, right wing, and he sailed that shot high. That's his shooting spot, as we've seen in this series. 2 minutes, 22 seconds to go. Period 2. Not clearing it in, he heads to the bench. Sakic comes over the boards with Owen Nolan. And Chris Simon. Simon takes the puck away from Odeline and clears it back in. Patrick Roy off the boards. Bellows. Can't get it out. Carbonneau does. Carbonneau feeds it ahead. Here's Lehman back to Carbonneau. Reaching for it. He went down, and a penalty coming up against Quebec with 1:56 to go in this second period.
Chris Simon gets the call. He was one of the quiet ones involved in the Lindros trade. from Sault Ste. Marie, who played for the Ottawa 67s, and Paget giving him the stare, I think. Pierre's got a great stare, hasn't he, when he gets a little upset. In any event, Simon gets the 2 for the hook on Carbonneau here as we take a look at it. Lehman on the return pass, and Carbonneau's hauled down from behind. So with another update, let's again join Scott Russell.
Dick, speaking of penalties, Claude Lemieux is out of the game for the Devils after a high sticking major. Others picking up the slack, including Bobby Holik, through the legs of Tom Barrasso. That puts the Devils into the lead over Pittsburgh, 2-1 late in the second.
Well, if any team's got the law of averages on its side, it might be New Jersey, considering that the Penguins have not lost a game since the 5th of March.
You would think they're due for a loss.
I think it's a long time.
Canadiens 1 for 4 on the power play. What a chance here for them to take the lead late in the second period. Muller, Bellows, Damphousse, Brisebois, and Holler. Penalty killers are reaching. And Young, loose puck side of the net. Gusarov quickly there. Takes his time and sends it out off the stick of Young down the ice. Now Huff comes over the boards with Lapointe. Damphousse giving chase for the Canadiens. Lasician and Damphousse against the boards. Muller crashing. Damphousse trying to tuck it in. It's loose. Bellows 2 whacks at it, and it won't go in.
It won't go in, Chris, and you wonder how it didn't go in. From the angle that we have here in the broadcast booth, you could see an open space inside the post, and the puck not far from the line. But somehow, the Nordiques covered up, and you see Brian Bellows has been clipped on the left eyebrow. Now, let's see if we can figure out how Bellows gets clipped or how this puck stays out. Hextall falls away from the post. There it is. Somebody shovels it toward the net, but it didn't make it. And that might be where Bellows got hit right there. And the Nordiques dodge a bullet on that one that the Canadian player cut on the play. Now we'll see just maybe a better look at how close it came. You see Hextall falling away. He gets his foot over. That's what happened. He made that reaction. He knew he was away from the post, but he stretched, and that helps when you're the size of Ron Hextall.
Dick, for just a split second, he had come off the post, but as you said, stretched back to make the save. Minute 12 to go in the power play, but a minute 8 in the second period. Looks like Kirk Muller had as good a whack at it as any. In front of Hextall. And Muller and Lapointe, and Lapointe's upset. I think he's being waved out again. No, he stays in there. Canadiens win the draw. Holler off the boards, Damphousse. Under a minute to go in the period. Damphousse to Brisebois. There's Bellows shooting, and he missed the target. Holler off the boards. Damphousse, challenged by Foot, gets it in the corner. Around it goes to Bellows. Huff watching him. Brisebois. Holler right on. Handled easily by Hextall, though, and Lapointe gets a chance to clear. 30 seconds to go in the period. Hextall flipping it himself. Brisebois back in. LeBeau chopping at it, but it comes out to Lapointe. And he clears it down the ice. Canadiens will have to hurry if they're going to get one more chance here before the period expires. Desjardins clears it in. Dion reaching for it. LeBeau, and there goes the siren. Coming up in our second intermission, Scott Russell will chat with the Nordique defenseman Curtis Lasician. And the score at the end of 2 periods at the 4-minute. Cuthbert and Dick Irvin in the broadcast booth. Just 2 goals to report. Booth. Just 2 goals to report in the first period. Matt Sundin early, 117, his first of this series from Gusarov. A pretty evenly played period. Canadians have a big edge in shots in the second, 14-4, and yet a goal, a power play. Kirk Muller, his first from Domfus and Muller and Bellows. And so we're tied at 1, getting set for the third.
Well, that bottom line, Chris, might be the shots 14-4 and only 1 goal. And you just get the feeling now that the next goal, you know, that old feeling you get. And if Quebec, after that kind of a second period, most of it played in their end of the rink, can go ahead again in the Canadiens, it could let a lot of air out of a balloon here in Montreal.
Here's a stat that might worry Canadiens fans. The Nordiques have outscored the Canadiens 14-6 in the third period of games played this year. The Nordiques started 4 seconds of this third period shorthanded, but both teams now at full strength. Young, Ricci, and Huff up front for Quebec. Gary Lehman has it on right wing for Montreal and flips it out to center. Guy Carbonneau and John Leclerc also starting the period for the Canadiens. Ricci's pass over the stick of Huff, sliding into the Montreal zone. Desjardins plays it around the boards. John Leclerc on the left wing. Sends it in, and it's an offside call 43 seconds into the third period.
Leclerc just waiting up a little bit. He's one of the fellows that the Montreal media has accused of not catching the team bus yet in this particular series. John had a funny year. He'd play a string of games, and boy, he just looked like the most promising player in the lineup. Jean Perron, the ex-Montreal coach, who's now in fact, he succeeded Jacques Demers as the color commentator on the Quebec radio broadcast this year. Likes Leclerc, but says, why doesn't he shoot the puck more? He might have the best shot in the team, and he does have the hardest shot in the team, I think.
Jacques Demers told us earlier this year he thinks John Leclerc could be a 30-35 goal man consistently in the NHL. Canadians looking for goals in this third period. They've been hard to come by. Pass for Sundin, flipped in towards Patrick Roy, cut off by Odeline. 4 goals for the Canadiens in the series. Brian Bellows has 2 and an assist, and here he comes. Shot right on. Bellows also leading the Canadiens in shots on goal. He had 11 through the first 2 games. And in the first 2 periods of this game, he had 4. Now Lapointe back for Quebec. Claude Lapointe. Flip to the corner. Great feature on him in the second intermission. An underdog who certainly has taken this province by storm and this series. Puck sliding outside the line as both teams make changes, and it's Steve Duchesne and Steve Finn on the defense for Quebec. Duchesne set a club record this year for the Nordiques. 62 assists by a defenseman. And a very tentative start to this third period, icing the call against Montreal.
And the Canadiens not playing to begin this period the way they played through most of the last period. But it's early. 2:01 gone. Tomorrow, Hockey Night in Canada from Maple Leaf Gardens. Viewers in Ontario, Quebec, and the Maritimes. The Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings, Game 3 of their series. Manitoba and BC viewers will see the Vancouver Canucks play the Jets at the arena in Winnipeg. The Canucks up 2-0 in that series. 7:30 Central Time and 7:30 Pacific Time. Alberta and Saskatchewan plus Ontario, which will be 10:30 in Ontario. The Flames and the Kings, and we'll be back here at the Forum Saturday night, 8 o'clock, the regular Saturday night start time, coast to coast with Game 4 of this series.
Shots are 26-16 in favor of Montreal. Haller, giveaway here. Owen Nolan, side of the net for Sakic, knocked down by Haller, who recovered. And back comes Keane with LeBeau at the line. LeBeau spinning and a weak backhand right in on Hextall. Loose puck in the corner. Domfus picking it up, and he is taken to the boards by Nolan. Domfus knocks it free. Keane hit by Finn. LeBeau back to Ramage. That shot hit LeBeau, and Nolan off the boards and into the Canadian zone. Nordiques changing, so Patrick Roy tried a lead pass, and no one was there. Scott Young in for Quebec. Drops it off for Ricci. Mike Huff on this line as well. Foot. Shot directed by Roy to the corner. Ricci behind the goal. 18 goals on the road this year, just 9 at home. Puts it in front, cleared by Eric Desjardins. Ahead to Benoit Brunet, and he just gave it up at center ice. Now Brunet gets another chance, and he'll skate out on right wing. Ricci after him. Goes in the middle to Belanger. Left wing Dion trying to roll it through. Foot broke it up. Desjardins at the line keeps it in. Dion after it again. Desjardins lost it to Kamensky. Look out, Kamensky's dangerous. Here's Kamensky, and Belanger came back nicely to make the defensive play. Brunet back at center ice. Hits the line with Dion, and now they'll skate to the bench. 1-1 tie here, early third period. John Leclerc back in, bumped up with Gusarov. Lapointe in the corner, flips it along the boards, kept in by Odeline. Gusarov again, Carbonneau forechecking for Montreal. Odeline, point, shot went right through. Lapointe, he hits Leclerc with that, and now the Canadiens forechecking starting to work. Carbonneau behind the goal, Gusarov lifted the stick of Leclerc. Takes over for the Nordiques. He's a cool defenseman. Out to Lapointe. Ahead to Kamensky. At the line, couldn't control. Gives off Sundin with some room. Matt Sundin, and he's knocked down. Carbonneau on him. It's under Sundin. Carbonneau knocks it free. J.J. Daigneault now. Up ahead to Leclerc. Missed the pass. Duchesne ahead for Cavallini. Patrick Roy shovels it along the boards. Denny Savard is out. He flips to center. And we've played exactly 5 minutes of this third period.
And Montreal not nearly as sharp as they were through almost all of the second period. They got that early goal in the power play and kept them up. But here, as you used the word a while back, Chris, tentative. Maybe describes the play of both teams.
See Hextall there. He spotted Kovalenko open at center ice and just missed him with a breakaway pass. Sakic, young shot. Kovalenko rebound. Shooting, and Patrick Roy on the line makes a key stop. Patrick Roy hearing the cheers at the Forum in Montreal.
Get a second smoked meat sandwich or a second spaghetti smoked meat for only a nickel. Nichols, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's the only place to be.
Not only is this Honda Accord designed to improve airflow, but cash flow as well. Presenting the Honda No Charge Air Event, a limited time offer on now at your local Honda dealer. Also available on this sporty Civic sedan. See your nearest Honda dealer for details.
Get a second smoked meat sandwich or a second spaghetti smoked meat for only a nickel. Nichols, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. It's the only place to be.
Face off in the Canadian zone. Adam Foote at the line. His shot rolling to the corner. Huff and Desjardins battling for it there. Bellows up with it. Young takes him to the boards. And the Nordiques trying to hem the Canadians in. Savard along the far side flips it out. And here's Bellows. One-on-one against Foote. Big shot. And Hextall may have got a piece of that. Desjardins at center. Puck is intercepted by Huff. Here comes veteran Mike Huff, rolling it towards Patrick Roy, and he'll hold on for a faceoff. With an update, here again, Scott Russell.
Chris, here's one we might have anticipated. Number 66 on the board for the Penguins. Larry Murphy and Mike Ramsey combined to set up Mario Lemieux wide open net. That is his fourth of the series. It's now 2-2, the Penguins and the Devils at the Meadowlands.
Bit of a trend developing in this game. Jacques Demers can't be too happy. His defense starting to give the puck away. That last wild sequence where Kovalenko thought he had a goal here a couple of minutes ago. All started with a giveaway by Kevin Haller, and then they had another chance, not quite as tough a chance for Patrick Roy, but it was a giveaway by Eric Desjardins. when Desjardins and Nino got their signals crossed. There's the Kovalenko attempt and near goal, but it all started with a giveaway by a Montreal defenseman. And there's been a couple of fairly key ones here in the last two plays of the game in their end of the rink.
Well, a goaltender under the gun coming into game number 3 said tonight the Canadiens will show their pride. And he showed us a dandy stop to keep it at 1-1. Wolanin right on. And he squeezes the pads.
The Nordiques have had one more shot in this period through the first 6 minutes and 1 second than they had in the entire second period. They had 4 in the second period. They've had 5 in this one, and suddenly this game is starting to turn around just a little bit. There's the face-off won, the shot taken, and the save made. I wonder if Joe Sakic's overdue. He had 10 shots on goal in the game on Tuesday night in Quebec. He hasn't had a shot tonight. Canadians have checked Carbon, have used Carbon, Omar, haven't put anybody. In fact, they've tried to use Sakic on 2 or 3 different lines on occasion. Like right here, he's out with Nolan and Simon. He was out with Simon and Cavallini in the second period. But he is dangerous. Carbon is on him right now.
And we also mentioned in the opening the unsung heroes that always seem to rise, like Chris Simon off the post. Oh, that was close. Now back for Keane. Odeline moving in, centers down, Booth spinning, and his pass broken up, and Simon trying to send away Sakic. The lead pass deflected off a Canadian, so icing is waved off. Daniel against the boards. Simon and Sakic looking for a loose puck, comes back to the point. The pass doesn't come across, and now Keane starts back with LeBeau and Booth. Stephane LeBeau. Keane couldn't reach the return pass. Starting to open up a bit now. Sakic at the line by himself. Waits for Owen Nolan. Now puts it in front, and Odeline's there. LeBeau. Broken up Kamensky. Nolan back to Kamensky. Great one-on-one attacker. Weak shot right on. Loose puck, and here comes Montreal. Benoit Brunet hits the line, drops it off. Boost off an ankle wide. Brunet after it, centers in front. Kevin Haller thought about pinching in and left it for Steve Finn, and the Quebec comes back. Kamensky to Sundin, wrist shot right on. Desjardins for the Canadiens. Duchesne kept it in. Off the backboards. And Haller flips it over the glass, out of play. 12 and a half minutes to go, third period. Still tied at 1.
Filtered Miller Genuine Draft from Molson O'Keefe. Get out of the old. Get into the cold.
As a truck company for 90 years, we understand the value of a strong frame. A reassuring strength for towing, whether you're on road or off road. GMC Truck, the strength of experience.
Oh, some anxious moments now at the Canadiens bench. As time winds down, at the end of the game, we'll have the Molson Cup 3 stars. Claude Lapointe with Ricci and Scott Young for Quebec. Brisebois has Ricci all tied up, and Brunet starts out. Lapointe all over him. Nobody wants to miss a checking assignment now. Scott Young loose, and that shot deflects way up into the stands. "12 minutes to go, and let's take a look at the battle between Ricci and Brisebois. Canadiens skate away. No penalties called, and you don't want to take a retaliation penalty at this point in the game. Muller and Bellows with Denny Savard back out for the Canadiens. Joe Sakic, Kovalenko, and Nolan for Quebec. And the faceoff looked like Sakic was clipped with a high stick. He had an eye injury earlier this year and is feeling up towards his eye and now appealing to Bill McCreary.
Different pace to this period, Chris, altogether than what we saw in the second period and through most of the first period. And it's the old word again, tentative, but that's dictated, I think, by the score. There's the clip. Muller's stick rides up and hits Sakic. And the Nordiques are still talking here. But McCreary finally backs off and says enough's enough. Well, Lannon had a lot to say to the referee as well.
We were talking about unsung heroes, and Pierre Paget has sold his team that at playoff time anyone could be a hero, and cited Dick Duff as an example of that. A player who used to rise and make key plays at playoff time. Bellows in, and he hit the side of the net. Bellows trying to center it. Some fans at the far end thought that was in as the mesh bulged. Scott Young the other way. Young lost his balance, swept it into the corner. Ramage around the boards, and Denny Savard is there. Takes a look and feeds ahead to Muller. Canadiens at the end of a shift. Muller lost possession. Now Savard moves up. Well, they stay out there as they go to the attack. Savard, and a glove stop by Hextall. Wow, I'm not sure if that was in or not, but it was one Hextall couldn't afford to let go by.
Denny Savard doesn't shoot that often from that far away, but this time he elects to do it, and it was accurate. Close call. Hard to tell from that angle, Chris, if it was going in or not. Boy, Hextall sort of edging to his right, throws out the left hand, and it's still a 1-1 tie. Big guy. He's emerging as the biggest in the Nordic camp.
Boy, he's a leader. He led in that little pregame exercise that we talked about off the top. I chatted with Mike Huff today about who does all the talking in the dressing room, and he said Hextall, Cavallini, and myself, constantly telling the others. Here's Lehman off the faceoff, constantly telling the Nordiques, no bad penalties, no retaliation. Kovalenko up against Brisebois. Nolan forechecking against Desjardins. Carbonneau's bumped. He's right in the middle of it too. And it's pass bin out to center. Carbonneau now starting out for Montreal. Mike Keane rolls it in. John Leclerc gives chase against Duchesne. Duchesne put the clutch on him. Got away with it. Leclerc and Duchesne still battling. It comes out and Kovalenko has it. And the Nordiques start back. Andrei Kovalenko, his first Stanley Cup playoff game. Can't get far over that blue line. Leclerc works it free to Daigneault. 10 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Third period, still 1-1. Sundin in the first, Muller in the second. Now Mike Huff off the bench, ahead to Sundin. And Sundin works it back to Huff, shooting, pad save. Sundin rebound, banned on it. In the corner, Kamensky. Way behind the play, Daigneault had been tied up with Adam Foote. They rejoin the action. Here's Kamensky in front, off of LeBeau, right to Patrick Roy.
9:41 left in the third period in this game. 31 years ago tonight, as we look back to this day in Stanley Cup history, the Toronto Maple Leafs played the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago. The Hawks are the defending Stanley Cup champions, but the Maple Leafs got goals from Bob Nevin and what turned out to be the cup-winning goal by Dick Duff. That's the Nevin goal, and the Maple Leafs won the hockey game by a score of 2-1. So Punch and Black's gang had a Stanley Cup. They had played in the Stanley Cup finals a couple of times, a couple of years before that, against the Montreal Canadiens. But here is Dick Duff, who later won Stanley Cups in Montreal, getting the cup-winning goal. It was the first of 3 straight Stanley Cups for the Toronto Maple Leafs, as the Leafs had a playoff dynasty in the early 1960s. And it all began 31 years ago tonight, April 22nd, 1962, in the Chicago Stadium.
The face-off, puck rolled in on Patrick Roy. Sakic in the corner, tied up by LeBeau. It rolls to the line, kept in by Rasinski. Haven't seen him much in this third period. And now the Canadiens break out with Domfus and Bellows. Rolled through for Bellows. He tries to one-hand it in front. Gusarov was there, and Wolanin flipping it ahead between Cavallini and Sakic. The Canadiens send it back in. Pass for Domfus. He's being watched by Cavallini. LeBeau behind the goal. Bellows was out in front. They couldn't get him the puck. Desjardins at the point, through traffic. Hextall to stop. I'm not sure he ever saw that one. Sakic back for Quebec. Under 9 minutes to go. Joe Sakic turns. Passes for Duchesne. And Ramage got his stick on that. Desjardins on Cavallini. Big Gino's tough to move. Shot right on. Rebound. Cleared by Montreal. Finn at the line. Keeps it in for Quebec. Cavallini after it again. There's Lapointe in the corner to Sakic. Checked on the play. Sakic still after it. Belanger's lost his stick now. Lapointe. Duchesne in front. Just couldn't reach it. Now a race for it between Finn and Brunet. Finn gets there first, and it's cleared in offside, but the Nordiques had the Canadiens on their heels momentarily.
My staff is very good.
No getting around it. Service is definitely a hands-on business. That is my job, to provide that personal touch.
I think our customers appreciate the good service we give them.
At Esso, we're dedicated to getting you on your way with fast, friendly service.
Esso has standards, and I have standards.
And the Esso card with valuable Esso rewards gives our customers great service.
Class, comfort, self-confidence, Belvay's style, created by the finest master tailors. 2 suits for the price of 1. Double the elegance, double your pleasure. Save by indulging in 2 suits of the same value for the price of 1. Belvay dares to push it to the limit. Belvay, faithfully yours.
Canadiens trying to end a 6-game playoff losing streak. Tied at 1 here in the third.
When's the last time that happened to the Montreal Canadiens?
Has it ever happened before? Last win, Game 7 of the first round last year against Hartford here at the Forum. Jesse Belanger. Now Brunet tied up Belanger. Shot right on. Rebound. Dion couldn't bring it down. Dion after it again, though. Lasician takes him heavily to the boards. Adam Foote has lost a stick, a glove, and a helmet. He had a battle in the corner. And every sequence now is critical for both teams, but certainly the Canadiens, who can't fall down 3 games to none in this series. Sundin with some open ice. Drops it off. Craig Wolanin. And he can't get the shot away as Odenline challenged him. Kamensky against the boards. And Gilbert Dion. Lead pass between Muller and Savard. Here's Kovalenko on the right wing. Andrei Kovalenko tied up by Desjardins, and Desjardins takes over for the Canadiens. Off the boards ahead to Denny Savard with Muller. Bellows loose on the left side. Kirk Muller fires on. Rebound. Hextall lost it momentarily. Savard against the boards. Muller behind the net. Kovalenko on him. Gusarov around the boards. Kept in by Odenline and flipped to an open corner. Kovalenko around the boards again. This time out, and it's Ricci ahead to Lapointe. Claude Lapointe. Odenline has them all wrapped up. Cleared free by Ricci, but back outside the line. 6:25 to go, third period. Still 1-1. Sundin and Muller the goal scorers. Sundin in the first, Muller in the second. Here's Gary Lehman hitting the line, and he fell, and it was offside. With another update, here's Scott.
Chris, the scoring has got hot and heavy at the Meadowlands Arena. First, the Pittsburgh Penguins tie the game. This is kind of a weird one. A knuckleball from the point. It goes off. Finally, Troy Loney, his first of the series. That makes it a 3-2 Penguins lead. And then Larry Murphy gives the Penguins a 4-2 lead with a blast from the point that beats Craig Billington. That's also his first of the series. 4-2 Pittsburgh, as we say. But the Devils come back 13 seconds later and tie it. It is number 20, Alexander Semak, with the shot to beat Tom Barrasso, his first of the series. It's 4-3 Penguins over the Devils.
Here's 6:06 to go, third period of a 1-1 tie in Game 3 of the Adams semifinal.
This is the series, Chris. You know that. I mean, less than 6 minutes to go. The only hope Montreal has of making it a series is to win this game.
Well, Jacques Demers called this crunch time. I don't know if he's got a special word for these situations, but his Canadiens do have to elevate their play, as he wanted them to do going into Game 3. Owen Nolan ahead to Sakic. Carbonneau bumped into Sakic, and there's Gusarov. He just flips it in, and the Nordiques will change. Now down to 5:15 to go. And the fans trying to exhort the Canadiens here to the go-ahead goal. Dom Foose is into the zone. Wolanin watching him. Casper Belanger keeps it in at the line. Gusarov just flipped it. Belanger loved it but couldn't control it. And the Nordiques clear it down the ice. Is turned over in the zone off of referee McCreary, and a strange bouncer. Oh boy, Patrick Roy just held on to it on the short side.
It's uniquely refreshing. It's naturally clear. It has no artificial color, no artificial flavors, and no caffeine. What is it? 7-Up. The original clear beverage. Nothing could be more refreshing.
We believe when you buy a new car, the last thing you should buy is the car. First, buy the thinking. The thinking behind ozone-friendly air conditioning, a driver's side airbag. The thinking that built a car big enough to be comfortable without being uncomfortably big. The creative warranties that truly protect the people who will drive the car. Finally, buy the thinking that believes your money has the right to go far. The new Nissan Altima, built for the human race.
We're back at the Montreal Forum with an update from the Nassau Coliseum. Pat Elenick, number 19 of the Capitals, beats Glenn Healy and gives the Caps a 3-1 lead over the Islanders. That series is tied at 1. Chris?
4:43 left, third period here. Sundin wins the draw. Huff shot right on. Brisebois along the boards. Dom Foose kicks it free. At center with Keane. He'll clear it in. Muller on this line as well. Sundin, Huff, and Kamensky for Quebec. Keane right in the thick of it. But now it comes free from Matt Sundin. Duchesne moving with him. Steve Duchesne shot right on, and Patrick Roy holds on for a face-off.
Oh, you have to admire goaltenders at a time like this, in a game like this, as we get some ill will developing after the whistle goes. But you had two terrifically talented offensive-type players on the rush there for Quebec, Sundin and Duchesne. And Duchesne got clear for the shot. Patrick Roy made the save. Now we've had penalties called by McCreary. And very likely somebody will go. Yes, both doors now open in the penalty box area. So you've got Vincent Damphousse and Kamensky going. There's now, this opens up the ice a little bit here now with 4:15 left in regulation time. Just before he took the rush up the ice and got the shot away, or maybe this was just after, I don't know. It was Mike Keane Duchesne. There haven't been very many checks replayed in this series. We had Denny Savard with one the other night. Expect a little bit more from Mike Keane, the native of Winnipeg, out of the Moose Jaw Juniors. So high sticking penalties against Valerie Kaminsky and Vincent Damphus, and Canadiens President Ronald Curry looking on in obviously somewhat worried fashion. So they have Sakic and Kovalenko up front as forwards for Quebec, and they will go against Muller and Bello. Both coaches looking for goals, not for defense, in a 1-1 tie at this stage of the third period.
15:45, time of the high sticking penalties against Damphus and Kaminsky. And it's Muller skating out to center. Adam Foote watching him, won't let him by. Gusarov and Foote are the defensemen for Quebec. Desjardins and Haller for the Canadiens. Joe Sakic in center with Kovalenko. Sakic trying to burst through. Oh, Kovalenko had snuck in behind. They couldn't get him the puck. Bellows starts back with Desjardins. Bellows can't control at the line, and it's flipped out to center ice. Over the boards comes Brisebois. Quebec now making a change. Brisebois drifts the shot in on Hextall. Sundin and Nolan are out for Quebec. Nolan dropped it, and LeBeau has it, and he took it out, brought it back in offside. Brisebois thought he got his skate outside, but it was an offside call. With an update, here's Scott.
The auditorium in Buffalo and the Boston Bruins are fighting back tonight against the Sabres with their backs against the wall. Shot past the net, and this one goes in as Brian Smolinski scoring his first to make it 2-2, the Bruins and the Sabres.
Well, the teams that, were all those years, trying to say, in the finals in the division, one or the other, or usually both, battling for their lives tonight. Both trailing 2-0, both tied late in the third period.
Here's 3:28 left, third period. A minute 13 to go in those minors, so we've got plenty of time with this 4-on-4 situation. Keane and LeBeau for the Canadiens up front now. Scott Young and Sundin, and here's LeBeau trying to cut in, rolled the shot. Duchesne cleared the rebound. Brisebois at the point, and Hextall does the splits and makes the glove stop.
We talked about the high-profile goaltenders in this series, Ron Hextall and Patrick Roy, and they are both playing some high-profile goal in this game. Patrick not all that busy in the second period, but when it narrows down to this time with 3:14 left, they are the guys who are facing the pressure, and they have been equal to the task.
Well, Hextall now has made 36 saves. Patrick Roy 27.
Open things up in this period, Chris. Shots are 12-12.
Keane on the face-off, joined by Brunet out there, Lapointe and Sundin for the Nordiques. And Curtis Lesishin starts out. There's Lapointe, and he heads right back to the bench, and Joe Sakic comes over the board. So they got their two big center icemen, Quebec, Sakic and Sundin on the ice. Brunet for the Canadiens drops it off for Keane. Keane lost it, and Sakic will turn back. The captain up to Sundin against Brisebois. Sundin in, and Patrick Roy just got a piece of that. Oh, that was dangerous as Sundin looked for his second of the game and the go-ahead goal. Keane takes a high stick from Sundin. Play continues. Brunet shooting. That hit a skate, went off Duchesne. Brunet in the corner trying to center it. Now he'll try and tie it up if he can against Gusarov. 5 seconds to go in this 4-on-4 situation. Sundin will stay out. Shot right on. Another long shot on Patrick Roy. Now they're back to 5 skaters aside at 2 minutes and 2 seconds to go. Third period, 1-1 tie. The forum buzzing now. Lesishin off the boards, kept in by Muller, no. It did come out, offside called by Swede Knox. With another update, let's go downstairs to Scott.
The Buffalo Sabres have scored again at the Auditorium, and it's the overtime hero of game number 1, Bob Sweeney, as he beats John Blue. 14:56 of the third period is the time. It's now 3-2 for the Sabres over the Bruins.
Kirk Muller very involved in this game, much more so perhaps than in the first 2 games in Quebec.
We're a minute 47 away from a possible overtime period. Bruins really under the gun in Buffalo, and the Canadiens certainly in tough right now here as the puck goes into the Canadiens bench, and we'll go back down to Scott.
Chris, the Patrick division this time in a battle between the Washington Capitals and the New York Islanders. The series is tied at 1. It's 3-1 for the Caps when Steve Thomas gets his second goal of the night right off the crease right there. That makes it 3-2 for the Washington Capitals over the New York Islanders.
Minute 36 left at the Forum in Montreal. Ricci and Muller from the face-off in LaPointe. Takes it behind Patrick Roy, watched by Daigneault. LaPointe to Young. There's a loose glove on the ice, and that impeded Young's progress. And Dogfoos takes it for Montreal. The back pass broken up by LaPointe, fires it back in. Ricci was tied up with Odeline. They've got something going. J.J. Daigneault to Dogfoos. Just gets rid of it to center. Scott Young turns, broken up by Bellows, and here's Dogfoos. Can't get by Duchesne. Canadiens changing their defense with under a minute to go in the third period. Carbonneau with a back pass and got it back again. Ramage rolls it in. Joe Sakic starts back for Quebec. Final minute of regulation time in game 3. A 1-1 tie. Dogfoos off the boards. Carbonneau, the captain, gives chase against Finn. Steve Duchesne for the Nordiques. Now a half minute to go. Kovalenko, left wing for Rusinski. And at center ice, Gusarov. Eric Desjardins. Flipped in by Lehman. Wolanin to Gusarov. Leclerc rides him out. Now Wolanin, the former New Jersey Devil, flips it at center ice off over the stick of Mike Huff. Loose puck. And it's cleared by Leclerc in. He'll head to the bench, and everybody will head to the dressing room as we are going to overtime for the second time in this series.
Well, a pretty entertaining bit of business all round on balance. A total of 68 shots on goal in the regulation time. Not quite tight playoff hockey all the way from that standpoint, but certainly on the scoreboard. The Nordiques know that a win here
now, and certainly the team on the spot as we get set for sudden death in game 3, and the Canadiens trailing this series 2-0 in 7 previous playoff overtimes between Montreal and Quebec. The Nordiques have won 6.
And another Scot was the hero in game 1, Scott Young. Anybody can be a hero. And interesting, if you run down the National Hockey League guide, the total list of overtime goal scorers in playoff competition, there are some interesting names. Their moment in the sun, if you will. But the pressure, this Scott Pearson talking about the Nordiques having fun and relaxed, I can understand that. There's no problem with that. The Canadiens want to take some of that fun away from them. I mean, if they're having fun now, they'll be hilarious if they win this game.
Sundin, Huff, and Kamensky for Quebec. It's Muller for the Canadiens diving after it in the Quebec zone with John Leclerc and Brian Bellows. Adam Foote tried to pick up the puck. Kept in by Desjardins. Swept aside by Hextall. And now Sundin with some open ice will skate to center. 4 Nordiques at center ice. Kamensky misses the pass on left wing. Valerie Kamensky just dumping it in, and Brisebois for the Canadiens. Bellows. The guy that scores here will be a hero all summer, and the guy who makes a mistake could be a goat for just as long or longer. Bellows. Odeline pinching in. Leclerc behind the goal. Centers it. Hextall down. Muller takes the shot. Leclerc pulled down, and play continues. Now the Forum erupts as Nordiques come back. Sundin and Kamensky. That failed to click at the end of a shift, and the Canadiens start back out with Dom Foose. Montreal with the first good chance on goal. Dom Foose after it, poke checked, and he heads to the bench. That almost hit Bellows, an extra man on the ice, as he was headed to the bench on a late line change. Offside is the call. We've got an update, and here's Scott.
Chris, we may have overtime all over the National Hockey League tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The Islanders have fought back to tie the Washington Capitals. Steve Thomas does yeoman service. He sets up Pierre Turgeon, number 77. His third goal of the playoffs, less than a minute left. It's 3-3, the Islanders and Caps.
Looks like Pierre Turgeon's getting rid of that playoff jinx that haunted him when he was in Buffalo. Didn't play in the playoffs last year. Islanders didn't make it. He's having a fine series so far. So it's the Canadiens under the gun, no question about it, on home ice in overtime.
Canadiens getting the first chance, and the fans thought that John LeClair had been hauled down in front of the Nordiques net and that there should have been a penalty. There was one penalty in the overtime in game one. Ramage double team, but gets it down the ice, and icing's the call as Ramage had not crossed the red line. A face-off deep in the Canadian zone.
Well, the point was the man there is, again, as he has been so often for Quebec, defensively in the neutral zone, and pretty well caused the icing. So we got an important face-off, and aren't they all, in overtime. The Canadiens jumped right on the Nordiques, though, Chris, in the first minute. We mentioned how they didn't do that in the first minute of the third period after having a fine second period, but they had that close call. Every one of these face-offs now in somebody's end of the rink is a big one in overtime.
Paget hoping to drop the winning goal. There's a tricky shot from the side of the rink, and Patrick Roy hangs on. Rasinski with the wrist shot.
Winning the face-off. Sakic's done very well in that regard tonight. So Demers makes a change. And Belanger, basically a raw rookie. His first Stanley Cup game.
Against Sakic, and Belanger does the job. Desjardins behind the goal. Dom Foose, Belanger, and Keane, Ramage. Belanger goes to the bench, and LeBeau is now out. Rasinski, Sakic, and Kovalenko on right wing. Andrei Kovalenko trying to cut in against Desjardins, and he just rolled it wide. Crashing into Waugh, and the net goes ajar. And they say Kovalenko can cut in off the wing as good as anybody on their team.
He's had moments of terrific speed for Quebec against Montreal. One of the first times in tonight's game, maybe the first the net's been knocked askew. And here's the reason why. Kovalenko covered a little too closely by Desjardins, and the puck went wide, and the net went off the mark. So he is back in the lineup tonight, his first playoff game, as you've mentioned, and he does add that dimension. You just saw it. They've got so many quick forwards.
Nordiques brass feels he has a chance to be a star as well. He led the scoring at the World Junior Championship in Finland a few years back, but was overshadowed by a teammate by the name of Bure. Minute 54 gone in the overtime, and an anxious moment at either end so far. Sundin and Muller, and Muller kicks it free. Up to Bellows. He sends it in. John LeClair, first man after it. Behind the net, Bellows trying to sweep in front. Here's LeClair, traffic jam in front. They shoot and went through the goal crease behind Hextall and out the other way. Bad break there for the Canadiens. They got it behind Hextall, but not in. At the line, they get crossed up. Gusarov out to center, breeze ball right back in. Benoit Brunet, Muller to the net, and it was broken up by Gusarov. Back comes Quebec. Scott Young turns back. Now feeds ahead. Miss Lapointe with the pass, and Breezeball rolls it inside the line. Ricci, Lapointe, and Young. This was the line that produced the overtime winner game one. Gary Lehman didn't play game one. Flips it cross ice. Craig Wolanin there for Quebec. Gusarov. Breakaway pass behind Lapointe. This will be icing if Daigneault gets to it first. And he does.
I wonder if Jacques Demers is starting to question, is it really in the cards for us in overtime? In game one, Kevin Haller hit the goalpost. The puck went behind Hextall and over the stick of Brian Bellows. And right here, as you mentioned, the puck, we'll take a look at it here. It's John Leclerc through the crease, through the legs. Look at that, right across the line, it seems, and out the other side. And you can't get it any closer than that. And Ron Hextall and the Nordiques dodge a bullet early in this first overtime period. We see the puck here in this one. There's a traffic jam. Leclerc swings it around, and well, maybe not right on the line. The other angle looked that way, but close enough.
Muller on the face-off against Sundin. Leclerc through a maze of legs. Loose. Bellows. Oh, big stop rebound. Still loose. And they can't get it past Ron Hextall.
And I say it again. Demers must be saying, is it in the cards for us to score in overtime? Because they have had the chances through the first 3 minutes and 13 seconds of this overtime period, and here's another wild one. And it's just a case of trying to follow the bouncing puck and the flopping goaltender. And Ron Hextall hangs in somehow in this sequence, and the Canadiens can't put it by him.
Brilliant save against Bellows, and then the pile-up in pursuit of the rebound. Watch the glove by Hextall.
Well, the fans got to appreciate the effort the Canadiens are giving it here. And by that time, with the puck free at the top of your screen, the whistle had gone.
Bill McCreary just over to the Quebec bench as the Nordiques try a late change.
Well, let's look at what's happened around the eastern part of the NHL playoff map. The Penguins win again. They're up 3-0 in overtime now at the Nassau Coliseum, 3-3. In overtime in Buffalo, 3-3. In overtime here in Montreal, 1-1.
Desjardins batting it out of midair, and it's called on the high stick.
Yeah, that's a strange stat that you mentioned, Chris. 7 times these teams in their playoff meetings have gone into overtime, and only once has Montreal won the game. Mats Naslund with a drifting long shot on Mario Gosselin in 1987. And the Canadiens won that one.
We saw Dale Hunter's overtime winner in our opening. Muller kicks the feet out from under Sundin. Bellows hit Gusarov as he tried to clear it in. Now Muller will carry in. Around Kamensky. In the corner, bodied by Huff. He kicks it loose. Bellows shooting wide. Had some room on the far side, and it goes all the way back into the Canadian zone. Desjardins off the boards out to center. Craig Wolanin ahead to Kamensky. Mike Huff. Checked by Dion. Down goes Dion. Wolanin backhands it into the Montreal zone. 4 minutes gone in the overtime period. Brisebois ahead. Bellows reached for it. Went by everybody. And Duchesne plays it around the boards for Gusarov. Denis Savard. Checked by Gusarov. Owen Nolan clearing it into the Montreal zone. J.J. Daigneault's back. Off the boards ahead to Denny, and it goes over his stick. Curtis Lesishin feeds ahead. Owen Nolan, nice pass to Sakic. Back to Nolan, who clears it in. Kovalenko's out on right wing. Kovalenko knocked it behind the goal, and it comes around to Savard. He flips to center ice. Duchesne whacks at it, and it goes back in. Pass Ramage, kept in by Nolan. Daigneault another try. Outlets on left wing to Dion and Savard. Denis Savard across the line. Back pass didn't go through. Gets another chance right in on goal. And Dion was providing the screen. Another shot that didn't look that harmless. Dangerous, but McCreary goes down. Fans react. Savard, LeBeau, shot wide. Desjardins moving up. Can't keep it in, and here's Kovalenko. His lead pass for Sundin just missed. Canadiens wheel out with Damphousse. Damphousse tripped up by Finn. LeBeau hit the side of the net, And now it's Chris Simon. Just rolling it at center ice. Brisebois there. Banks it off the boards. Walenet to Sundin. He'll turn back and wind up. That's Sundin to the line. Can't break through. Cavallini tied up by Carbonneau. And Desjardins leads the Canadiens to center ice. Here's Desjardins to the line. Shot right on. Rebound. Carbonneau rolled it wide. Bouncing puck, and Carbonneau missed the target. Mike Ricci's back. Ricci for the Nordiques. We're in overtime at the Forum. Steve Finn at the point. His shot blocked. Keane whacks at it. Lapointe is after it. Cavallini being hooked. Lapointe looking for it behind the goal. Ricci has it. Steve Finn sneaking in from the point. Finn was alone in front for a moment, but the Canadiens get it out. 6 minutes, 40 seconds gone in sudden death overtime. Odeline clears it in for Montreal. Brunet is after it. Hit by Leschyshyn. Mike Huff. Intercepted by Lehman. Hextall sweeps it around the boards. There's Young in the middle for Sakic. That missed, and Rob Ramage, the veteran defenseman. Off the boards, Leschyshyn clearing it into the Montreal zone. Eric Desjardins out to Lehman. Left wing Brunet with speed. Sharp angle, hit the post. LeBeau rolled it wide. Lehman can't get the shot away. 3 cracks at it. The Canadiens can't put it in. Benoit Brunet with a rocket off the outside of the post. Lehman turns. Brunet again with LeBeau. 2-on-1. In front. Off the boards. They score.
We're going to have an argument. The Nordiques are going to argue that the stick was over the shoulder. The referee pointed to the puck in the net, but hang on. Just hang on. McCreary is motioning to the benches. Wait a minute. Jack Demers, he's doing what he has to do. He's getting his team off the ice. But wait a minute, folks. This is going to be a close call. This one's going to the video replay judge. Now, you just knew this had to happen sometime in sudden death overtime. Stéphane LeBeau, where's the stick? Oh, yeah,
No
it's
doubt.
over the shoulder. No question.
No doubt
But
about
it's over
it.
the shoulder. That goal's not going to count. That goal should not count. The point is, did it hit LeBeau's stick or did it hit the Quebec defenseman? Now, you can't tell from there. Did he really touch the puck, or was it Joe Sakic?
Or was it Ron Hextall?
Yeah. That's the only out that the Canadiens might have here, if we can see it clearly. But this thing isn't over yet. Now, does LeBeau touch the puck? Yeah, I think he does. Yeah.
They'll have to bring the Canadiens back. Only Denny Savard is on the ice. Well, that's our opinion. We'll wait for the official.
Well, the video replay judge is Carlton McDermott, and Wally Harris, who was the man on the phone, has ruled that the goal has been disallowed in sudden death overtime. But there's not much doubt about it. Take a look again. LeBeau, the puck deflects high. LeBeau's stick goes high. He did a good job to make contact with it, actually. But it's no goal.
Dick, that wasn't just over the shoulder. It was over his head.
Yeah. And we're going to have quite a delay here because the fans, in their exuberance, thinking that the home team had won in OT, littered the ice from one end of the Forum surface to the other. And we're going to have a delay here while the maintenance men do their thing and clean up after the disallowed goal. But there wasn't any doubt about it. And again, Jacques Demers is asking, is it in the cards in overtime? It has been a wild overtime. The Canadiens have had, in overtime, 8 shots. The Nordiques have had 1. And Pierre Pagé with a smile. The Nordiques celebrated. I mean, you asked for a lift.
they've got a big one here, but I don't think, you didn't see the Canadians argue the point. In fact, that's why Demers got the team off the ice fast. Do everything you can, guys, to make it look like we've scored. But the modern introduction of technology into the NHL did in the Canadians that time, and there wasn't any doubt about it.
We do have an overtime decided elsewhere. Let's join Scott.
Chris, while we were trying to decide if the Canadians had scored or not in overtime, here in Buffalo, the Sabres win a faceoff. Pat LaFontaine, Dale Howardchuk stopped by John Blue. This is less than a minute in. A knuckleball, it's in the net. Dale Howardchuk scores 4-3 Buffalo. They have a 3-0 series lead over the Boston Bruins.
I tell you, that isn't just a surprise. That's a shock. If you judge from the way those teams finished the regular season. You know the old story, finished the regular season on a roll like Minnesota 2 years ago. It doesn't work in that one because the Sabres lost their last 7 and Boston won their last 10 or 12, whatever, almost. Now, here's Demers. This is after the goal went in, and he knows that there's going to be an argument, and he knows there's going to be a video replay check. And he's telling his guys, come on, let's go. Benoit Brunet was injured, you know, on when all the celebration was going on by the Canadians. He was down on the ice, and he got up very gingerly. So now this is live as the Canadians are back on the bench. And then all this is finished, and the debris is scraped up. Play will resume with a face-off in the Nordiques zone.
We're told that they have given the winning goal in Buffalo to Yuri Himalev. John Muckler often said Grant Fuhr can win you a series by himself, but he's not doing it just by himself, Dick. It's been a great effort by the Sabres.
But when they made the trade, the word was, well, they want to win at least one playoff series this year. They haven't done it since 1982 when they beat Montreal in 3 straight. There's another look at the high stick that LeBeau used to knock the puck in the net. The fellow who was the hero of that series, Bob Sauvé, in the best of 3, is here tonight. He works as a commentator on the Soirée de Hockey. Scotty Bowman was coaching the Buffalo Sabres in that particular time. So, Jacques Demers and the Canadians have to regroup. I don't know, Chris, what the aftermath is to something like this, actually to face off the outside the blue line. You know, who's the team that has to do the most regrouping? I would think it's the team that was deprived of what looked like the winning goal, but they're not, they know they can't argue the point. Now the Canadians got to say, okay, it's been all Montreal in this overtime, as the shots would show, and that's a good indication of how the play has gone. They're the ones, I think, who now have to regroup much more so than Quebec does.
Be interesting to find out if Bill McCurry would have allowed that goal without video replay.
Oh, that's the question you ask all the time in those cases. The referees are so emphatic at the time, and then it's changed for them by the fellas upstairs, but that time there was no question.
We are back underway. Steve Finn for the Nordiques. Canadians have had all the chances so far. Here's Ricci in, centers it in front, and the Nordiques now go to the attack with a second win. Spin at the point. Wrist shot wide. Ricci reaching for it at the side of the net. Young coming out in front, takes the shot, kicked out, big stop. Patrick Waugh down, and a high shot goes wide and will go all the way down the ice. That one just missed.
Scott Young on the verge of being a hero the second time in overtime in this series.
Dean hit by Lapointe, and Lapointe wins the puck. Here's Young again. Scott Young, shot right on. Patrick Waugh has it in front of him.
It looks like that's what happened, Chris. The Nordiques get a big break, and not a big break. They got the decision in their way, as it should have been, and now they're the ones that seem to have a little more spring in the legs. The Canadians had it through the first part of this overtime. What a hockey game here tonight. We hope you are enjoying it. Coast to coast on Hockey Night in Canada. And remember, tomorrow night, more playoff action from Toronto, Winnipeg, and Los Angeles. That shot from the sharp angle by Young, and Roy knocked down, reached for the high shot, but it missed the net.
That high shot just missed Bill McCurry, who was ducking on the play. 11:25 to go, first overtime period. At the point, Foot. This by a couple of feet. Sakic to Kovalenko. Rusinski has it now. Circles. Shoots right on. Rebound. Kicked out. Back at the point. Lasician. Knocked down, and the Canadiens finally come out. Gilbert Dion. Their first assault since the disallowed goal. Shot right on. Brunet reaching for the rebound. Rusinski against Dion, who scoops it behind the goal. Brunet dodges a check from Lasician. Back to the point. Daigneault shooting. Just rolled off Hextall wide. Lasician. Left wing feed for Rusinski. Brisebois there for the Canadiens. Up ahead it goes to Dion. Gilbert Dion pries it loose for Bellows. Bellows knocked down. Penalty coming up against Quebec.
Curtis Lasician lays a two-hander on Brian Bellows. And so with 9 minutes and 26 seconds gone in this first overtime period, the Canadiens, for the second time in this series, will have a power play in overtime. In the first game, it was the only power play they had all night. Bellows went down, and he was grimacing, favoring his right hand or arm as he goes to the bench. Bingo! There's the crack that he takes from Lasician, who's now gone for two. And Bellows is getting some attention from the Canadiens. Physical therapist Gaetan Lefebvre. Look at it here. Bellows makes the move toward the board. So now, the Canadiens, who on balance have dominated this overtime period, get a chance to dominate in the manpower department. But they have to be careful, because the Nordiques can score shorthanded goals.
Brian Bellows in discomfort at the Canadiens bench. John Shipman, Gaetan Lefebvre watching him as the Canadiens go on the power play. As you see, 1 for 5. Damphousse shooting. That hit the post. Hit the outside of the post through a maze of legs. Sakic sprawling. Arici can't. Here's Hextall. He has it in his pads and hangs on. And Muller knocks Wolanin down in front of the net.
Bellows still being looked at the Canadiens bench. Now he says, I'm okay. I saw him nod his head, and he's coming onto the ice. Take a look at that last one. Muller trying to create some havoc in front of Hextall. Almost succeeds in doing it. He and Wolanin hammering one another, former teammates with New Jersey. And the faceoff will be in the Quebec zone. All of that through the first 19 seconds of the Curtis Lasician 2-minute penalty for a slash.
Kirk Muller scored on the power play in the second period. That's the only shot that's beaten Ron Hextall. Officially. Kick free by Muller to Brisebois. Here's the shot. Just went wide. Rebound. Comes out to the blue line, and Lapointe sends it down. Brian Bellows back on the ice. 10 minutes into the sudden overtime period. Muller hit by Lapointe, slowed up. It's in his skates. Comes free for Damphousse. Gusarov checks him. He is cool, they say. Sometimes they've got to check his pulse because under pressure-packed situations, he'll act so nonchalant. Gusarov, number 5, out on defense with Adam Foote. Cleared in. Damphousse. Nice move. Shooting right on. They score!
And Hextall wild again. Hextall going after McCreary big time. I would think that the puck was kicked in.
Jubilation at the Forum and throughout the Montreal area. The Canadiens are back in the series. And Ron Hextall's argument continues. This time it will fall upon deaf ears. Let's join Scott Russell.
Chris, tomorrow night, Molson Hockey Night in Canada. Detroit at Toronto to the east. The Wings lead that series by 2 games. And then Vancouver at Winnipeg to Manitoba and British Columbia. We get word now that this game is not over. There will be an argument, and there will be a video replay. Chris?
Muller was there. I'm not so... Was it his skate or Gusarov's skate? And was it kicked or was it a deflection? Now, what does McCreary do this time? And it's good.
A goal. Have you ever seen a finish like this? Patrick was a hero tonight. He outdueled Hextall tonight, although both were brilliant. Hextall still heated up, and he better be careful. Ronnie better be careful. Here, Paget's over. But this is a brand new series on the goal.
We got all kinds of things happening here. A fan tried to jump on the ice, and the gendarmes at the Forum hauled him off. Now here's Hextall finally barging through the gate in high dudgeon. Paget's man, but the Canadiens have won.
10:30, time of the goal. Kirk Muller's second of the game. And Vincent Damphousse will get an assist, and the argument persists on the ice.
That was the 50th Montreal shot of the hockey game, and the 12th in overtime. And it's 2-1 final.
Wild night. Patrick Roy, the Canadiens are back in the Battle of Quebec. Let's join Scott.
Detroit intérieur par la glissade de Coussara. Quoi qu'il en soit, le Canadien l'emporte in extremis 2-1 sur les Nordiques de Québec et vient maintenant diminuer l'écart qui les séparait des Nordiques dans cette série. C'est maintenant 2-1 pour les Nordiques dans cette série après 3 matchs. La prochaine rencontre, c'est dans 2 jours. Regardons maintenant la réaction de Jacques Demers après le but marqué par Damphousse et que le but a été accordé officiellement. Alors écoutons le choix des étoiles Molson du match de ce soir.
Ladies and gentlemen, are tonight's Molson's 3 stars selected by Mr. Red Fisher from the Gazette. La première étoile, the first star, Kirk Muller. La deuxième étoile, the second star, Ron Hextall.